Chapter 89. Thunder Tide Shore was a forbidden area where many prisoners were locked up. Naturally, there was a large group of guards and mages controlling the array of the forbidden area. Quick, it's an Jianghu's cell. That black-clothed youth is too powerful. With just a glance, my eyes became blurry and my ears were ringing. I directly fell down Thunder Tide Shore into the sea. Too scary. The guards said in fear. Very quickly, a large group of guards gathered. The leader in charge of guarding Thunder Tide Shore was a Silver Moon Knight. Just a glance and you fell down? The Silver Moon Knight carrying the weapon box frowned. Could it be a mage that specializes in the soul? First, second and third squads, gather and prepare to depart. The Silver Moon Knight immediately ordered, activate the array and prepare to attack. Yes. Everyone carried out the order. The Forbidden Area's array began to activate. The surrounding temperature of Thunder Tide Shore began to drop rapidly. Frost began to form on the ground. Scram! An angry roar resounded in the surroundings. A turbulent wave of water appeared out of nowhere. Like a huge snake slithering, this huge wave of water that was at least a few hundred meters long swept across the gathered guards. The guards were all panicking. Some were holding onto their weapons while others were holding onto their shields. The Silver Moon Knight who stood at the very front also had a change in expression. A shield appeared in his hand and blocked in front of him. Rumble, the wave swept across and the guards were all sent flying. The Silver Moon Knight was the only one who was able to stand steadily. His expression changed. Water attribute magic? It's actually so powerful. I'm afraid it's a Silver Moon mage. Who dares to invade my Yang clan's forbidden area? The Silver Moon Knight shouted, state your name. Suddenly, a flame do chi soared into the sky. The faint flame do chi looked ordinary, but it caused the Silver Moon Knight to feel an invisible fear. Every strand of do chi was like sunlight. The flame do chi in the sky condensed into a huge palm. Oh! The huge palm slapped towards the Silver Moon Knight. No, this isn't a mage. The wave of water just now was caused by the realm of myriad existences. The Silver Moon Knight came to his senses. He wanted to dodge, but the huge flaming palm was too fast. He could only use his shield to block it. Ping, the giant palm descended, and with a single slap, the Silver Moon Knight was smashed into the rocky ground. There were many sounds of bones breaking, and the Silver Moon Knight immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Thank you for sparing my life, my lord. The Silver Moon Knight was horrified. He knew that his opponent had been merciful. Otherwise he would have been smashed into minced meat. Only then did the huge flaming palm slowly retract. The soldiers who were rolling in the distance, as well as the leader of the Silver Moon Knights, looked at the huge flaming palm flying in the air in horror. In the end, the palm turned into a large amount of do chi and flew back to the cave where Jianghu was at the Thunder Tide Shore. Captain. Immediately, a guard came over and helped the Silver Moon Knight up. Everyone don't mess around. Don't disturb that lord, the Silver Moon Knight ordered. Yes. All the soldiers hurriedly responded. What kind of joke was this? If they really fought, they would probably be killed in an instant. Just now, when the water wave swept across, it used a gentle force. Other than the Silver Moon Knight, the other weaker soldiers, including the Meteor Knight and the weakest ordinary soldiers, were all sent flying. However, none of them died. Clearly he had been merciful. This palm doesn't seem like a spell. It seems more like do chi. The Silver Moon Knight clutched his chest. His eyes were filled with unease and panic. Even when the do chi is separated from the body, it can still be so powerful. Could it be a transcendent? Within the cave, Dongbu Shuiying was currently chatting with his mother, eating some snacks and drinking the spiritual liquid of the Stone of Ocean Boundary. He didn't want anyone to disturb him, so he controlled the water from a distance to send the guards flying. If he had used fire, he would probably have burned those guards to death. Although Dongbu Shuiying was suppressing his anger, he wasn't a lunatic. He knew that every injustice had a perpetrator and every debt had a debtor. As for these low-ranking soldiers, they were only doing this for a living. Only the leader of the Silver Moon Knight, Dongbu Shuiying, had taught him a lesson. Snow Eagle. Jianghu watched as the faint red do chi flew in through the entrance of the cave and entered Dongbu Shuiying's body. Your do chi can leave your body and retract it so easily. Could it be that you've already? Jianghu was in disbelief. And I just became a transcendent not long ago, Dongbu Shuiying said. I fell into the Black Wind Abyss. Because I became a transcendent, I was lucky enough to escape. Jianghu couldn't believe it, but she was also incomparably proud. Her son, 20 years later, that 8-year-old boy had become a legendary transcendent life form. It's like a dream. I can't believe it. Jianghu smiled. Mother, eat some more. This time, Dongbo Shuang only brought some snacks. He guessed that his parents hadn't been living well these past few years. And Jianghu was in a good mood. She ate with big mouthfuls and drank the spirit liquid. Her skin color was changing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shuang poured cup after cup for his mother. Even after the flask was finished, he would send even more spiritual liquid from his storage treasure into the flask. In the past few years, his mother's magic energy had gone berserk and collapsed, and her soul had been injured. Then, because she was too sad, coupled with the fact that a mage's body was already weak, and without the nourishment of magic energy, her condition had naturally plummeted. Spirit liquid from the stone of oceanic world was something that even a transcendent saint expert wouldn't be willing to eat or drink. This was Elder Lei Jin's greatest gain in his life. Before he died, he left behind an array. He would rather destroy it than give it to the demonic beast clan. Usually, if he drank a little, he wouldn't feel hungry for a few days. A pot of spirit liquid was equivalent to 10 days' worth. It was worth over 1 million gold coins. Of course, Transcendents wouldn't be willing to exchange it for gold coins. At their level, the money in the mortal world was more than enough for them. Gold coins were just numbers. What they valued more were transcendent items. Mother, how did you know that something had happened to me? Dongbo Shuang asked. Mo Yang Chen Bai sent someone to tell me. Mo Yang said, he was purposely trying to anger me. But if not for him, I'm afraid that I would only know about Snow Eagle's matter after a long time. It's Mo Yang Chen Bai again. Dongbo Shui Ying's eyes were filled with killing intent. He had to die. However, Dongbo Shuang quickly controlled his emotions and continued to accompany his mother to eat, drink, and chat. He hoped that his mother would be happier. And you're actually full. Mo Yang smiled. Unknowingly, I drank a lot. My soul's injuries have completely recovered, but I feel like I can't drink anymore. If you're full, then you don't need to drink anymore. Dongbo Shuang smiled. This kind of transcendent spirit liquid, most people would not feel hungry after drinking a cup a day. Mother, you were injured and your body had deteriorated over the past few years. That's why you were able to absorb and digest it continuously. Now that your body has recovered, you are naturally full. The Mo Yang in front of him still had snow-white hair, but the roots of her hair had turned black. Her complexion had completely recovered to how it was 6 years ago, and her spirit was even better. So mystical. Mo Yang said. This spirit liquid is extremely important. Mother, you better not tell anyone about it. Dongbo Shuang said. That stone of ocean world was enough for him to use for 1,000 years. Naturally, he had to leave some for his parents, Qing Shi, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. They were all his family. However, he still had to keep it a secret. As for the others, Dongbo Shuang was not worried. After Qing Shi experienced this setback, he should be much more stable now. This spirit liquid was beneficial to the body, dantian, qi-si and soul. It was effective even for transcendents, not to mention mortals. It would be of great help to their cultivation. Even if his parents could not go far in their cultivation, they would still be able to live longer. Don't worry, I know. Mo Yang smiled. Then let's go and pick up father. Dongbo Shuang stood up. Dongbo. Mo Yang's heart palpitated. Ever since she was imprisoned here, the two of them had been separated for 20 years. 20 years, it was too long. Holding on to his mother's hand, they walked out of the cave. Transcendent Do Qi permeated the air, forming a protective layer around his mother. Following that, Dongbo Shuang brought his mother and flew up. Thunder Tide Shore. Flying in the sky, Missouri Jianghu looked down at the Thunder Tide Shore and the dumbfounded guards. This was the place where she was imprisoned for 20 years. Father is in the East Fragrant Lake Refinery. Let's go. Dongbo Shuang said. So. In an instant, he turned into a blazing rainbow and broke through the sky. So fast. The Silver Moon Rider leader, who had been clutching his chest with a pale face, looked at this scene in shock. Flying in the sky and burrowing in the ground, it's a transcendent. The legendary flying in the sky and burrowing in the ground? A transcendent? The guards at the side were also shocked. In this world, almost everyone had heard of a transcendent, but those who had actually seen one with their own eyes were extremely few. Who is that black-clothed youth? Mo Yang has always been imprisoned. How could she have the chance to meet a transcendent? Is it someone she knew 20 years ago? The Silver Moon Rider was somewhat puzzled. In front of a transcendent, what does the Mo Yang clan count as? But why did they only save her after 20 years? Is it a transcendent who just broke through? The Silver Moon Rider speculated doubtfully. Suddenly he thought of a person. A very stunning person, a peerless monster that only appeared once in 100 years in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. Yet he died together with Xiang Pang Yun. Could it be Dongbo Shuang? He fell into the black wind abyss and came out alive? The Silver Moon Rider was somewhat shocked, but he did not dare to confirm. After thinking about it, among the people that Mo Yangyu knew, only that monster Dongbo Shuang could possibly become a transcendent. No matter who it is obvious that his relationship with Mo Yangyu is not ordinary. Who knows, this transcendent might even vent his anger on the entire Mo Yang clan. The Silver Moon Rider trembled in fear. The anger of a transcendent? This was definitely not something that the Mo Yang clan could bear. We must report this news to the clan as soon as possible. The Silver Moon Rider did not dare to be negligent and immediately ordered someone to pass the news. If it was an expert from the Azure River County, they would probably recognize Dongbo Shuang the moment they saw him. However, this was the Bellfeather County of the Eastfield Province. Only a few people knew of Dongbo Shuang's appearance. Boom! Dongbo Shuang held his mother's hand as he flew at high speed with flames surrounding him. So fast, is this how a transcendent can fly? Mo Yangyu exclaimed as she looked at her surroundings. The scenery around her had become illusory, only the scenery far away could be seen clearly. My current speed is only half of my true maximum speed. Dongbo Shuang explained, when a transcendent carries another person, their speed will be much slower. His body had turned into particles and was completely attached to the flames, allowing his speed to soar to the extreme. Normally he would only do this when he was in an urgent situation, or when he wanted to enter a narrow area such as a crevice. Maintaining his human form, he could only maintain 70 to 80% of his normal speed. If he were to carry another person, his speed would be even slower. Dongbo Shuang could only maintain half of his normal speed. We've arrived, the East Fragrance Lake is right in front. Dongbo Shuang held his mother's hand as they flew through the clouds. Soon they could see the sparkling East Fragrance Lake below. So fast we've only spoken a few sentences. Mo Yangyu exclaimed. She had lived in Bellfeather County since young and was very clear of the distance between the East Fragrance Lake and the Thunder Tide shore. Dongbo Shuang used his world energy to envelop the Mage Tower in the refiner workshop beside the East Fragrance Lake. He easily found his father inside and relaxed. His father's condition was much better than his mother's. Chapter 90. The East Fragrant Lake Refinery was like a huge fortress. Tens of thousands of workers were working hard. Other than prisoners, most of them were ordinary people who came here to earn money. In the Mage Tower at the center of the workshop, Master Su Guangqing had the highest position, followed by his disciples and then the servants. Dongbo Lai was the one who specialized in manual labor. Who is it? The alchemy workshop's security was much higher than that of the Thunder Tide shore. Other than Master Su Guangqing, there were also 2 Silver Moon mages specially assigned to operate the magic array. There were also Silver Moon Knights, and one of them even had a special alchemy armor, which allowed him to display the power of a legend ranker. With the coordination of the arrays and the various arrangements of the Mage Tower, even a legend ranker who had reached the state of one with the world could only escape in a sorry state. Who? Dongbo Shuang held his mother's hand and flew above the refinery, not caring about the guards at all. Hua hua hua. Many of the knights had already rushed to the roof of the refinery. Raising their heads to look at the 2 figures in the sky, they were all nervous and their hearts trembled. These 2 were flying? Humph. Dongbo Shuang coldly glanced at them. A substantial soul fluctuation instantly swept towards the group of knights below like a shockwave. Under the impact of the shockwave, the knights felt their ears ringing. Everything in front of them became blurry and they felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. Their bodies involuntarily turned soft and they all fell to the ground, including the Silver Moon Knight who was wearing the refinery armor. Mother, father is over there. Dongbo Shuang brought his mother and flew towards the Mage Tower. One of the windows of the Mage Tower silently melted, forming a door. Dongbo Shuang and Mo Yangyu walked in. Is it a transcendent? Regardless of whether it was the 2 Silver Moon mages controlling the arrays or the Mage Tower's master Su Guangqing, the heavily guarded refinery allowed them to discover Dongbo Shuang who had openly barged in. At the same time they also saw an inconceivable scene. With just a glance, all the knights, including the Silver Moon Knight, collapsed. Even a legend-ranked mage who specialized in the soul would need time to cast such a spell. Furthermore, both Dongbo Shuiying and Dongbo Shuiying had a layer of protective battle qi around their bodies. That transcendent battle qi was as dazzling as the sun. That white-haired girl, if I'm not mistaken, she's Mo Yang, right? A wizard asked. Everyone was so nervous that they didn't dare to move. Dongbo Lai was wearing tattered clothes as he sat in his small house to rest. His whole body was covered in sweat. His heaven-ranked knight's body and do qi allowed him to maintain a strong body, but he had been very tired for the past 20 years. Especially in the last 6 years. First, he learned of the Snow Eagle's death. Then he heard that his wife Mo Yangyu's magic power had gone berserk and she had become a cripple. But he was still holding on. Dongbo Lai himself didn't know why he was still holding on. Perhaps it was because as long as he was alive there was hope. He always held on to a glimmer of hope. Click. The door suddenly opened. I'm coming. Dongbo Lai jumped in fright and stood up. Suddenly he was stunned when he saw the door. Outside the door stood a snow-white-haired lady in purple robes and a black rogue youth. Ah, you? Dongbo Lai couldn't believe his eyes. The lady in purple robes in front of him was still as beautiful as before. It was just that her hair had turned white. She didn't look like she had gone crazy, like the rumors said. Dongbo. Mo Yang looked at the brave man who had fought on the edge of life and death in the past. Her eyes couldn't help but turn red. She stepped forward and held her husband's hand. Dongbo Shuiying silently watched from the side. He looked at his father and mother talking. He looked at his parents hugging each other and crying. Dongbo, I haven't told you yet. You should be able to tell. This is our son, Snow Eagle. Mo Yang pulled Dongbo Shuiying who was beside her. Snow Eagle? Dongbo Lai felt that the black-robed youth in front of him was very familiar. He felt an indescribable sense of closeness. Hearing his wife's words he found it hard to believe, but hasn't Snow Eagle already? After Snow Eagle fell into the Black Wind Abyss, he survived. He even became a transcendent. That was how he escaped from the Black Wind Abyss. Mo Yang said. Our son is already a transcendent. Dongbo Lai looked at his son. Eyes, nose, ears. He could clearly remember his son's appearance when he was 8 years old. He was absolutely sure that the person in front of him was his son, Dongbo Shuiying. In the world, even if people looked similar, it was only their overall appearance. Some of the details wouldn't be so exaggerated. Father, mother, from today onwards, the two of you no longer need to suffer. Dongbo Shuiying said. No one has the qualifications to make you suffer. Dongbo Lai suddenly felt incomparably proud. My, Dongbo Lai's, son has become a transcendent. Ha ha ha. Dongbo Lai laughed excitedly. I knew it. One day hope will come. One day. Ah. Good lad. Dongbo Lai smiled and nodded. I knew you would definitely be stronger than me. From the looks of it, you are much stronger than me. Not bad. Dongbo Shuiying's state of mind was extraordinary. But hearing his father's praise, he still felt happy and satisfied. Everything is over. Dongbo Shuiying's voice turned cold. But those who made you suffer, we can't let any of them off. And this damned Mo Yang clan. They made father and mother suffer for 20 years. This stupid clan doesn't need to exist anymore. Those who did this, all of them must pay the price. 20 years. His parents suffered greatly. His son and his parents parted. Snow Eagle. Mo Yang said. No need. There is no need to make it like this. In the entire Mo Yang clan, there are only a few who have enmity with us. Most of them have no enmity with us. The patriarch has always been following the clan's rules. It can't be considered as me alone. After all, Mo Yang clan was the place where she grew up. There were many people she knew there. Just killing Mo Yang Qinbai and a few others and you want to let it go? Dongbo Shuiying stared. Impossible. 8 years old. That cold order took away his parents. Dongbo Shuiying wanted to kill Mo Yang Qinbai. But towards the patriarch who gave the order, towards the stupid higher-ups of the clan, he was also angry. Snow Eagle. Dongbo Lai looked at his wife and said, that is after all your mother's birthplace. There are many relatives of your mother. There is no need to make things ugly. Father and mother, don't you hate them? Dongbo Shuiying asked anxiously. At least we are still alive. Mo Yang said. There is no need to implicate too many. Dongbo Shuiying clenched his teeth. So, in an instant they disappeared from the room. Mo Yang and Dongbo Lai left the room and went outside the window. Outside the window, Dongbo Shuiying's body was bathed in blazing do qi. He was like a god looking down on the mortal world. A terrifying pressure was emitted. Dongbo Shuiying's cold eyes swept across the room. All the mages and knights who were secretly watching in the alchemy workshop were terrified. Audiobook Shuang. I'm afraid many of you have heard of my name. I came out of the Black Wind Abyss alive. So the ones who should be afraid now is your Mo Yang clan. Audiobook Shui Ying's cold voice resounded throughout the entire workshop. According to my original plan, there is no need for your Mo Yang clan to exist. Those who should be killed will all be killed, including your patriarch who gave the order. But my mother pleaded for you. Your Mo Yang clan is really lucky. But even if you can avoid death, you cannot escape punishment. Tell your patriarch Mo Yang Qi I am waiting for her apology. Audiobook Shui Ying, who was in the air, caused all the mages and knights of the Mo Yang clan to feel uneasy. If I am not satisfied, humph. His last sneer made everyone's heart turn cold. If he is not satisfied? What would Audiobook Shui Ying do? Nobody knew. Father, mother? Audiobook Shui Ying flew to his parents' side and held their hands. Let's go home. Audiobook Lai and Mo Yang Yu nodded. Although Mo Yang Yu felt that her son's threat would definitely cause the Mo Yang clan to feel uneasy and kill a large number of people, it was still better than Audiobook Shui Ying's original plan. Moreover, Mo Yang Yu no longer had any feelings for the Mo Yang clan. After so many years, she still had resentment in her heart. It was only because her brother and the others were around that she felt troubled. South, bringing along his parents, he turned into a stream of fiery light and instantly streaked across the sky, disappearing into the horizon. The entire alchemy workshop was silent. Very quickly, the Silver Moon mages and knights gathered around Master Su Guangqing. Master Su, what should we do? They were all panicking. What else can we do? If we cannot overcome this, the entire Mo Yang clan is finished. Master Su Guangqing shook his head. What we can do is to relay the words of the Transcendent State expert to the clan leader word for word. Let the clan leader make the decision. Sigh, how can the anger of an Transcendent State expert be so easily appeased? Chapter 91. The atmosphere in the Mo Yang clan's ancestral hall was extremely tense. The 3 clan elders who came to the hall were all pale and sweating profusely. Speak, what should we do? Sitting in the hall was a silver-robed woman. Her brows were filled with killing intent. She was the current clan leader of the Mo Yang clan, Mo Yang Qi. Ever since the ancestor who created the glory of the Mo Yang clan died, the Mo Yang clan gradually declined. Fortunately, Mo Yang Qi managed to change her body and became a pseudo-transcendent, allowing the Mo Yang clan to rise again. Although in front of a true transcendent, a pseudo-transcendent was a joke, in front of mortals, a pseudo-transcendent was very scary. They could also fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. Only a transcendent could injure them, and they had a lifespan of 800 years. Therefore it was enough to maintain the prosperity of a clan. But the prerequisite was not to offend a transcendent. In the past, the Mo Yang clan had always been very cautious. They even tried to find ways to form a marriage alliance with a top clan that had a transcendent to strengthen their position. But this time, I believe in your clan elders. I left all the trivial matters of the clan to you, but what did you do? The silver-robed woman's voice was filled with anger. Lord Audiobook Shui Ying was able to fight evenly with Xiang Pangyun at the age of 22, but he fell into the Black Wind Abyss. Falling into the Black Wind Abyss means certain death? No one had seen his corpse, so how could he be certain to be dead? At that time, you should have treated Audiobook Shui Ying's parents well. The 3 elders didn't dare to make a sound. They were also muttering to themselves. The matter of Audiobook Shui Ying and Xiang Pangyun dying together, clan leader, you also know about it. Now we've caused a huge disaster. Our Mo Yang clan has been passed down for thousands of years. If we make a single mistake, we'll be destroyed. Mo Yang Qi was furious. She was indeed panicking. The news of Thunder Tide Shore and East Fragrant Lake Refinery had already spread. Flying in the sky and burrowing into the ground, Transcendent Do Qi, causing a group of knights including a Silver Moon Knight to fall to the ground with just a glance. All these proved that Audiobook Shui Ying was a true transcendent. Audiobook Shui Ying's threat had been transmitted word for word from East Fragrant Lake. Mo Yang Qi also panicked because Audiobook Shui Ying's threat included this sentence. Everyone who should be killed must be killed, including your clan leader who gave the order. Clearly, the original plan was to kill her, the clan leader. Fortunately, with the relationship between Mo Yang Yu and our family, he did not take things too far. Thinking of this, Mo Yang Qi's eyes became even colder. She had made her decision. For the sake of our family's survival, we must satisfy Lord Audiobook Shui Ying, Mo Yang Qi said. Now, whenever she mentioned Dongbo Shuiying, she would add the word Lord at the back to show her respect. Yes. We have to satisfy Sir Dongbo. The elders all nodded in agreement. Who was the one who suggested punishing Mo Yangyu in the Elders Guild? Who suggested marrying Mo Yangyu out? Mo Yangqi said. Out of the 3 elders present, 2 of them looked at the cold old man. The cold old man's face changed. Elder Shan, you've lived long enough, it's time to sacrifice for the family. Mo Yangqi looked at him coldly. The cold old man clenched his teeth and said with a sinister expression, I suggested marrying Mo Yangyu out, I just casually gave her a name, she violated the rules of the family, of course she must be punished, You still want to resist? Mo Yangqi's eyes were filled with killing intent. A big family with thousands of years of inheritance, the family's population was already in the tens of thousands. Elder Mo Yangshan's entire bloodline was sacrificed, it was a small matter. Mo Yangshan, you're not young anymore, you've received the family's grace, yet you're still afraid of death? Humph, you suggested severe punishment. How can you cower at this time? The other 2 elders said angrily. The Elders Guild had a group of elders like Grandmaster Su Guangqin, who was an external elder. However, there were only these 3 in the family's ancestral home, so what if they killed an elder? It's my fault. The cold old man lowered his head. Why did you suggest marrying Mo Yangyu out, who asked you for help behind the scenes? Record everything down, no matter if it's in the open or in the dark, anyone who was involved in this scheme, not a single one of them can be let off. Mo Yangqi said indifferently. The bigger the family, the more intense the infighting became. There were many direct descendants of the family, so why was Mo Yangyu chosen? Naturally, there was a secret struggle behind the scenes. After capturing Mo Yangyu and Dongbo Lai, those who schemed against this couple, those who harmed them, not a single one of them can be let off. No matter if it's the one who gave the order, or the one who carried it out. These are all the most basic things. In the end, how can we appease the anger of the transcendents? Ask the elders of the family to discuss and quickly come up with a plan. Mo Yangqi immediately stood up and ordered, hurry up and do it, those who should be arrested, not a single one can escape. In a luxurious garden, a middle-aged man wearing a luxurious robe was sitting comfortably. Beside him, there was a group of beauties serving him, peeling fruits for him and giving him a massage. He was Mo Yangqinbai. He had just passed 90 years old, but as a silver moon knight, living to 160 or 170 years old was normal, some could even live up to 200 years old. In terms of lifespan, he could not be considered old. Master. A skinny young man rushed into the garden and anxiously shouted, Master, Master, something big has happened. Bastard. What happened? How dare you barge in? If it's nothing important, be careful of your dog life. Mo Yangqinbai's face was filled with killing intent. This was the back garden, a place where his women stayed. Male servants and male guards were generally forbidden from entering. It's news from the East Fragrant Lake Refinery, saying that Dongbo Shuiying has already become a transcendent, and has already rescued his parents. Furthermore, he gave our Mo Yang family an ultimatum. The skinny young man was Mo Yangqinbai's lackey. If his master was finished, then his good days as a lackey would also be over. Master, we need to quickly think of a plan. Mo Yangqinbai's face changed. Isn't Dongbo Shuiying dead? How did he become a transcendent? Is the news wrong? Rumble, suddenly there was a roar in the sky, and a black refinery airship appeared in the sky. On the airship stood a group of powerful knights and mages, looking down coldly at Mo Yangqinbai. Mo Yangqinbai was the most important person in this capture, and he was also the strongest one. To prevent any accidents, the ancestral mansion directly sent out the refinery airship to kill him. Mo Yangqinbai, quickly surrender. A loud shout came from above. From noon onwards, the entire Mo Yang family began a reign of terror, such as the main culprit, Mo Yangqinbai, who was interrogated that very night, was executed. Some of the elders of the family, these elders may be weak, but they were all shrewd people and had made great contributions to the family, so they were supported by the family, and usually came up with plans for the family. They were also discussing how to appease the anger of a transcendent. After all, even if this matter temporarily passed, if Dongbo Shuiying bore a grudge, the Mo Yang family would still be destroyed in the future. Therefore they must think of a way to appease the anger. In the evening, the sun had already set, and the sky was gradually darkening. Dragon Mountain Manor's Manor Lord Xian stood at the city gate, gazing at the horizon, waiting. What? A flaming light appeared in the distant horizon and stopped in the sky. It's the Lord, and beside him are Dongbua Lai and his wife? Xian immediately recognized the three figures in the sky. High up in the sky, Dongbua Shuiying and his parents were looking down. 20 years were back. Dongbua Lai and Mo Yangyu looked down, their hearts were in turmoil. Ah, it's the Lord. The Lord is in the sky and beside him. Ah, it's the old Lord. Although 20 years had passed, many of the soldiers and servants had been here since the castle was built. With a glance, they recognized Dongbua Lai and Mo Yangyu, causing the entire castle to boil. Father, mother, let's go down. Dongbua Shuiying smiled. I reckon that Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong and Qing Shi will be here soon. Dongbua Lai and Mo Yangyu, on the other hand, became even more timid, inexplicably nervous and flustered. The three landed in front of the castle's main gate. The drawbridge had long been lowered, and the gate had always been open. Manor Lord Xian Yu Tu and a large group of people were waiting at the gate. Dongbua Ayu. Accompanied by excited voices, Zong Ling, Tong San and Qing Shi all appeared at the gate. Among them, Zong Ling and Tong San were the most excited. Master. Tong San looked at the snow-white-haired Mo Yangyu. This sturdy beast-race lion man was crying. Zong Ling and Tong San rushed up and hugged Dongbua Lai and his wife. Zong Ling quickly pulled the timid Qing Shi. Dongbua Ayu, this is Qing Shi. Little Shi too? Mo Yangyu looked at Qing Shi. When they first separated, Dongbua Shuiying was already 8 years old, and his appearance was more or less the same. But Qing Shi, who was only 2 years old at that time, had changed a lot since he grew up. Mo Yangyu didn't dare to recognize him. Qing Shi felt complicated. Looking at Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong and his brother's excited expressions, he really didn't have much of an impression of his parents. Little Shi too. Mo Yangyu reached out and held her son's hand. The more she looked at him, the closer she felt. Little Shi too looks a lot like Ayu. Dongbua Lai also smiled. His parents and little brother gradually became familiar with each other. Dongbua Shuiying was watching from the side and his mood was extremely good. At this time, Manor Lord Xian walked over and said in a low voice, Lord. Manor Lord Xian Dongbua Shuiying looked at him and smiled. I'm ashamed. I was slightly delayed and only returned now. Lord's return was already very fast. I have something to tell Lord. Manor Lord Xian hurriedly said, My Tranquil Sun Province's Dragon Mountain Manor's Lord Yi Hong arrived in the afternoon. He's over there. Tranquil Sun Province's Dragon Mountain Manor's Manor Lord? Dongbua Shuiying turned his head to look. Behind Manor Lord Xian, there was a skinny man with a simple bun of long hair. This skinny man smiled at Dongbua Shuiying as he walked over. He sensed for a moment. Pseudo-transcendent? Dongbua Shuiying made his judgment. Greetings, Lord Dongbua. The skinny man smiled. I am Yi Hong. I'm in charge of the Tranquil Sun Province's Dragon Mountain Manor's miscellaneous matters. Actually, I'm just here to run errands for the various transcendents. In the future, if there's anything you need, please let me know. Chapter 92. Yi Hong's attitude was very humble, but when Dongbua Shuiying was trapped for 6 years, he often chatted with the transcendent cultivator monkey and little bird. Therefore he was very clear that in any era, there would be a special organization like the Dragon Mountain Manor, that monitored the world. The Dragon Mountain Emperor established an empire, so this organization was called Dragon Mountain Manor. Just like how the Xia people once had an Emperor Lai Xiong, who unified the world and established an empire. At that time the organization that monitored the world was called Lai Xiong Dojo. The name changed but the essence was the same. They monitored the world and served the transcendents. This Yi Hong was able to become the head of intelligence for a province, so his position was rather special. For a true transcendent like Dongbua Shuiying, killing a pseudo-transcendent was a small matter. But if he killed the head of intelligence for a province, it would be the same as slapping the face of the Dragon Mountain Manor. There would be a lot of trouble and he might even be sent to the infernal realm to be punished. Lord Yi Hong, you came rather quickly. Dongbua Shuiying smiled. Let's sit inside and chat. I'm not in a hurry. Lord Dongbua, why don't you accompany your parents first? Yi Hong said. I'll be at home during this period of time, so I'm not in a hurry. Dongbua Shuiying had accompanied his parents back from Bellfeather County in the Eastfield Province, and they had chatted for a long time on the way back. Now was a suitable time for his parents and younger brother to interact more. Dongbua Shuiying and Yi Hong walked into the castle. Soon they sat down in a pavilion in the corridor and there was no one around. When I heard that Lord Dongbua had come out of the Black Wind Abyss alive, I was also shocked. It's rare for someone to become a transcendent at the age of 28 in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. The last person who came close to Lord Dongbua was our Tranquil Sun Province's Lord Qiu Qi Bai. Yi Hong said. However, Lord Qiu Qi Bai only became a transcendent at the age of 31. He was slower than you by 3 years. Now that Lord Qiu Qi Bai is the number 1 on the Transcendent Sage board, I believe that Lord Dongbua will also be ranked on the Sage board. First on the Saint board? Dongbua Shuiying was shocked. Lord Dongbo, you might not understand, but since ancient times, there has always been a saint ranking and a demigod ranking among the transcendents. Yi Hong explained, the cultivation path of a transcendent expert is split into soaring heavens, saint and demigod, these 3 great realms. Most of them are only at the sky realm. If they can step into the saint realm, they can be considered as the backbone of the Xia people. If they become demigods, they will be the true peak existences. There are a total of 30 people on the saint ranking. This includes humans, magical beasts and even the natives of the extraordinary world. There are 10 people on the demigod list. Yi Hong flipped his hand and 2 long scrolls appeared. These are the 2 rankings drawn up by the infernal realm. Dongbua Shuiying took it. He had long known about the existence of the saint list and the demigod list. This was also to encourage transcendents to go further in their cultivation path. However, Dongbua Shuiying did not expect Qiu Qi Bai to be number 1 on the saint board. One must know that humans, magical beasts and the natives of the transcendent world were all chosen. Magical beasts were too talented, and according to his understanding, most of the time, it was the magical beast race that was chosen to be number 1 on the saint board. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the rankings carefully. Saint board rank 1. Eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qi Bai, Elder of the Water Taoist faction. Started with the profound mystery of the wind of all creation. Grasped the true meaning of space cleavage. When he moves, it is hard to distinguish his tracks. In an instant he can appear anywhere. The true meaning of space cleavage cannot be resisted by saints. Main battle record. Once defeated the demigod, ghost deity knight Feng Dong, and killed the native demigod Wind Howl King. Saint board rank 2, Lord Beirut, magical beast race. Started with the profound mystery of the water of all creation. Grasped the true meaning of undying. His body is tyrannical. Even if he is heavily injured, he can instantly recover. Extremely terrifying in close combat. Main battle record. Battled with Qiu Qi Bai for 2 hours before being defeated. Rescued by the demigod of the Sorcerer God Palace. Saint board rank 3, Blood Devil. The highest leader of the small transcendent world, Blood Devil world. Within the Blood Devil world, he borrows the world's power to strengthen himself. Until now, no one has been able to defeat him. Saint board rank 4. Everyone looked at the rankings carefully. Dongbua Shuiying was extremely shocked. The top 5 of the saint board was only a human. It was Qiu Qi Bai. The main reason was that humans were too weak in terms of innate talent. However, from the 6th to the 10th place, 4 of them were humans. From the 11th to the 30th place, 15 of them were humans. Saint board rank 30. 20 of them are humans, 5 are from the magical beast race, and the remaining 5 are natives of the transcendent world. Tower Master Yi Hong said, those who are able to enter the saint board are all rather impressive. They all have hopes of becoming demigods. Especially Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai. He is the most dazzling genius of our generation. He grasped the extremely terrifying true meaning of space cleavage. Furthermore, he is only 300 plus years old. It is almost certain that he will become a demigod. In the future, he might even become the strongest demigod and be ranked number 1 in the demigod board. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the other scroll. This was the demigod board. One must know that deities could only stay in the mortal world for a maximum of 10,000 years. Once that was over, they would be expelled from the material world. The Dragon Mountain Empire had been established for over 9,000 years. When the Dragon Mountain Emperor became a deity, he was already over 1,000 years old. After establishing the empire for so long, it was obvious that the Dragon Mountain Emperor was forced to leave the material world. Currently, there were no deities in the entire world. Demigods were already the strongest. These are the 10 strongest existences in the world. Yi Hong said from the side. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the demigod board scroll. Demigod board rank 1, Black White God Mountains Mountain Lord He Yuan. Peak of demigod realm. Condensed the true deity heart. Demigod board rank 2, Fire Demon Emperor. Fire Demon World Supreme Leader. condensed the true deity heart. Demigod Board Rank 3, Sorcerer God Palace's Grand Elder Ao Lan, grasped the true meaning of life. Demigod Board Rank 4, soon he looked through them one by one. There were a total of 10 demigods. Among them 4 had condensed the true deity heart. Ying said from the side, Mountain Lord, he is the #1 expert in the world. He is the strongest demigod. His strength is unfathomable, and he has yet to meet a worthy opponent. As for the Fire Demon Emperor, he is usually in his Fire Demon world. At most, he would send a clone to infiltrate the human world. There is nothing to worry about. On the contrary, this Sorcerer God Palace's Grand Elder is the most frightening enemy of us humans. Most frightening? Dongbo Shuang was stunned. Right. Although he has not condensed the true deity heart, he has only grasped the true meaning. However, he has grasped the true meaning of life. He is able to transform a demon beast into a human. That is a true human body. There are no flaws at all. Ying sighed, the Sorcerer God Palace has infiltrated us humans, and the source is this Grand Elder. The threat he poses is too great. We humans have always wanted to kill the Sorcerer God Palace's Grand Elder. However, his whereabouts are unpredictable. Furthermore, he has grasped the true meaning of life. Even until now we have not been able to kill him. Ying's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He then laughed, of course this is too far away for us. No matter what, he is still one of the top 3 existences in the world. Let those demigods worry about him. Chapter 93. Under the Pavilion. As the tea was steaming, Dongbo Shuang smiled. Since the birth of humans and beasts, our Xia people's history has also seen the birth of gods. In the long history of the beasts, there have also been many geniuses. However, no one has been able to completely exterminate the other. It is too difficult to end the war between humans and beasts once and for all. Ah, that's right. Ying smiled. Lord Dongbo is right. In history, the beasts have also caused us to suffer greatly. The Great Elder of the Sorcerer God Palace is merely the most difficult opponent in this era. Shame this topic has gone too far. The lifespan of demigods is very long. Most of them seek to become gods and obtain a truly limitless lifespan. Ying said, that's right, this demigod ranking is only determined by our infernal realm. It cannot be said that it is absolutely correct. Those demigods all cultivate in seclusion to become gods. Who knows, one day, a demigod will appear and display an invincible strength. Dongbo Shuang nodded. He already knew this point. What the demigods desire the most is to become gods. After all, a demigod's lifespan is only 3,000 years. Only gods have an unlimited lifespan. Next, let's talk about proper business. Ying said, on our side, there are 6 transcendent organizations and a demonic faction hidden in the dark. The 6 transcendent organizations are the Temple of the Earth God, Bloodshed Tavern, Black-White Deity Mountain, Cloud City, Water Taoist Faction and Sea Deity Palace. Ying introduced, these 6 transcendent organizations represent the righteous path. They protect the entire Xia people, allowing our Xia people to continue on. However, there are still some transcendents, who are more selfish. They don't care about mortals, they don't even care about their own clans. They only care about themselves. Therefore they were tempted by the demonic god. For treasures, for strength, they relied on the demonic god, forming the demonic faction. Dongbo Shuang nodded lightly. Selfish? That's too normal. Transcendents were fundamentally superior to mortals, and their goal in the path of cultivation was to become a god. In addition to their long lifespans, many transcendents still had feelings for mortals and their own families at the beginning. But gradually their parents, children and other close relatives would grow old and die. After a few hundred years, they would no longer have a deep attachment to their own families. Some of them were even more self-centered. For example, being stuck at Sky Peak or St. Peak. In order to seek more resources for breakthroughs, or for the sake of greater strength, there were many who sought refuge with the demonic faction. Behind the demonic faction was an extremely powerful demon god. He was very willing to send large amounts of treasures to this side of the world in order to attract more transcendents. The 6 great transcendent organizations and the demonic faction are the main transcendent powers of humanity. As for those ordinary fiend celestial forces and some small transcendent organizations, they are not worth mentioning. They are not qualified to invite you, Lord Dongbo. This time, the ones who came to invite Lord Dongbo are the 6 great transcendent organizations and the demonic faction. I'm afraid that the demonic faction will secretly contact you. Lord Dongbo, you must not make a mistake. Yi Hong tried to persuade him. For a genius who had stepped into the transcendent realm at the young age of 28, it would be a great humiliation to the 6 great transcendent organizations if he were to be hooked up by the demonic faction. Don't worry, everyone in the demonic faction wants to kill them. Furthermore, I have relatives to tie me down, so it's impossible for me to join the demonic faction. Dongbo Shuang said. Yi Hong smiled, then I'll briefly explain the 6 great transcendent organizations. The Temple of the Earth God believes in an extremely powerful God. It is said that his position in the deity world is extremely high, with many gods following him. He is the only organization in the entire Xia people's world that has the qualifications to spread his faith. Anyone else who dares to spread their faith are all demonic gods. It's good to have a big tree behind you. The Temple of the Earth God will also give you many benefits. Once you join, there will be many secret techniques that other transcendent organizations don't have. The transcendence of the Temple of the Earth God. Only the transcendence of the Bloodshed Tavern can match up to them. Overall, they are much stronger than the other 4 great transcendent organizations. The Bloodshed Tavern also has an amazing god behind them. Fortunately, that great existence doesn't care about faith. Otherwise, it would be hard to say who would win against the Temple of the Earth God. The transcendents of the Bloodshed Tavern are all experts in massacres. The 2 transcendent organizations mentioned above both have the backing of a powerful god. Once you join, the advantage is that you will have more resources, and you will also have powerful secret techniques that cannot be learned in the outside world. However, the disadvantage is that there are too many rules and restrictions. The remaining 4 great transcendent organizations are the Black-White Deity Mountain, Cloud Mist City, Water Taoist Faction and Sea Deity Palace. These are the organizations that our Xia people have established over the generations. They are also deeply rooted and have been passed down through the ages. Because they don't need to believe in any god, the 4 great organizations have more freedom and are not restricted. At the same time, the 4 great transcendent organizations have their own territories. The 5 northern provinces are under the control of the Water Taoist faction. The 6 central provinces are under the control of the Black-White Deity Mountain. The 4 southern provinces are under the control of the Cloud Mist City. Although there are only 4 provinces, the southern provinces have good weather, there are more plains, and the population is also higher. The 4 overseas provinces, including all the seas, are under the control of the Sea Deity Palace in name. However, the area of the sea is too big, much bigger than the area of land. The Sea Deity Palace is unable to completely control it. Therefore, a few small-scale transcendent organizations have set up their foundations overseas. Yi Hong laughed. Our Tranquil Sun province is one of the 5 northern provinces. For us, the more powerful legend rankers, other than the Temple of the Earth God and the Bloodshed Tavern, only the Water Taoist faction would invite them. But Lord Dongbo, you are different. You are a transcendent, and you don't belong to any family. Furthermore, you are so young. Therefore, all the large transcendent organizations will sincerely invite you. Oh right, Lord Dongbo, if you become a transcendent, then Water Rights Town will automatically become the territory of your Dongbo clan. Yi Hong said, if Lord Dongbo joins the Water Taoist faction, then the entire Azure River County will secretly be under the control of your Dongbo clan. If you don't join the Water Taoist faction, then it will be very difficult for the Dongbo clan to touch the Azure River County. Dongbo Shuang lightly nodded. He knew this point. Transcendents had special privileges. Sky Realm and Saint Realm transcendents could directly obtain a territory of a county. This was their family's territory, and they had absolute control over it. Demigods could even obtain a county's territory. And in the dark, the families of transcendents could control even more territories. For example, the Water Taoist faction controlled the 5 northern provinces. Therefore, the transcendents of the Water Taoist faction had a lot of power in the 5 northern provinces. As long as Dongbo Shuang joined, he could immediately order people to take up any official position in Azure River County, with the exception of the Dragon Mountain Manor. Although they still belonged to the Empire in name, they had absolute control in the dark. So much so that the influence of a transcendence family could even spread to the surrounding counties. One must know that even the Sea clan, just by relying on Si Liang Hong, could faintly control the entire Azure River County. Not to mention the clans of the truly powerful transcendents. As for the Royal Clan, without the Dragon Mountain Emperor, the Royal Clan could not be compared to the deeply rooted 6 transcendent organizations. Right now it was just a facade. Everything that needs to be said has been said. Lord Dongbua, you should think carefully about which side you should join. Yi Hong laughed. Actually, it doesn't matter if the territory controlled by the clan is a little smaller. To a transcendent, personal strength is more important. I will consider. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Then I will take my leave. Oh right, who will be the first marquis of the Dongbua clan? Yi Hong asked. My father. Dongbua Shuang said. Normal transcendent clans could inherit the title of marquis for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years they would be demoted to earl. If they stepped into the realm of demigod, they could inherit the title of duke for 5,000 years. If they became a deity, the 6 transcendent organizations would temporarily lower their heads and submit to them. They could become the emperor of the world, and their own clan would become the royal clan. They could continue to pass down their inheritance until the next deity was born. Yi Hong and Dongbua Shuang chatted for close to an hour. The two of them ate and drank a little before Yi Hong temporarily stayed in the castle. That night, Dongbua Shuang went to accompany his parents and little brother. His family was very lively. However, the current Dongbua clan's population was still too small. No matter how much territory they controlled, they still had to let outsiders manage it. Late at night, the wind blew. Dongbua Shuang laid on his bed and had already fallen asleep. He was in a good mood. Suddenly he opened his eyes. And? Dongbua Shuang frowned. He wore his loose pajamas and walked to the corridor. His silhouette flashed twice and he was already out of Snowrock Castle. He arrived at the top of a mountain outside the castle. At the top of the mountain there was a man squatting on a huge rock. The left side of this man's hair was shaved, while the right side was hanging down. He squatted there with his eyelids drooping. In his hand was a blade that was slowly sharpening the rock. Although his eyelids were drooping, he could clearly sense an aura approaching him. That aura contained a sharp transcendent Do Qi, as well as a surging aura from his body. Dongbua Shuang, I didn't expect that the moment you stepped into the transcendent realm, your body's strength would already reach the middle stage of Sky Realm. You awakened the primordial bloodline when you were still immortal? The half-bald man stopped sharpening his blade and raised his head to look at Dongbua Shuang. The sharpness in his eyes caused even Dongbua Shuang to feel fear. This was an extremely terrifying opponent. Chapter 94. In Dongbua Shuang's senses, the half-bald man who was squatting on the big rock in front of him and sharpening his blade had a blurry aura, making it hard for him to determine his exact strength. For example, when he sensed Yi Hong, the head of the Dragon Mountain Manor in the Tranquil Sun Province, Dongbua Shuang could clearly sense his aura and his Do Qi. He was sure that Yi Hong was only a pseudo-transcendent. But this half-bald man, even his senses were so vague. Clearly the gap between them was too great. On the contrary, the other party could clearly sense his body and aura. Yes, he has awakened his primordial bloodline. Dongbua Shuang did not hide anything. To transcendents, awakening their primordial bloodline when they were still mortals was a small matter. I knew it. No wonder your body is so strong even though you just became a transcendent. The half-bald man's lips curled up. Transcendence would cause one's body to undergo a qualitative transformation. As for those ordinary legend rankers, their bodies were very weak and they relied more on their battle chi. But once he successfully transformed into a pseudo-transcendent, his body would transcend into a transcendent, and his Do Qi wouldn't change, but his physical strength would reach the level of the top 500 in the Dragon Mountain book. Before Dongbua Shuang broke through, under normal circumstances, his body was already able to reach the level of 1 to 200 in the Dragon Mountain list. After his body underwent transcendence, his body underwent a transformation. Right now, his pure physical strength had indeed reached the mid-stage of Sky Realm. Once he activated his power bloodline, he could barely reach the peak of Sky Realm. Sky rank was divided into initial stage, middle stage, and peak stage. Which bloodline? The half-bald man's eyes lit up. It can control the power of heaven and earth? Or space or? It's just a normal burst of strength. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. What a pity, what a pity. If it was someone who could control the power of heaven and earth or something related to space, or even an undying body, your future path of transcendence would be much easier. The half-bald man shook his head gently. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He was also very clear about this. There was almost no hope for the second awakening of the primordial bloodline. Therefore his physical strength was almost at its peak. Even if he cultivated to become a saint tier or even a demigod, his physical strength would not change much. At most, he could rely on some resources and treasures to forcibly increase his physical strength, but the increase was very small. To be able to step into the early stage of the saint level with great difficulty, the price one had to pay was enough to make a demigod's heart ache. As for battle chi, with time he could easily cultivate it to the peak of Sky Realm. With the addition of a secret do chi technique, he would definitely be able to surpass his own physical strength. Therefore, the further one progressed, the more powerful one's do chi would be. Some who awakened the primordial bloodline were able to control ice, fire, teleportation, and even lightning. Then, after becoming a transcendent, those who could control ice would be able to control the power of ice more freely and clearly. It would be much easier for them to comprehend the profundities of all things. As for those who had awakened spatial bloodlines, they were even more heaven-defying. At the Sky Realm he might be able to teleport. This was something that most martial saints could not do. On the other hand, Dongbui Shuiying was only able to unleash his strength. It did not help him in comprehending the profound mysteries of all creations. It would not be of any help to his strength in the future. It was indeed a pity. I thought you'd awaken some kind of special primordial bloodline and become even more monstrous. What a pity. The half-bald man then grinned. Whatever, take a few moves from me first. Whoosh. The half-bald man moved in an instant. Dongbui Shuiying did not expect the other party to attack so abruptly. He immediately retreated and shouted, "Stop!" He did not want to fight. This was because he still did not know the other party's identity. The 6 great transcendent organizations were righteous and protected the entire Xia people. Therefore they were relatively united internally. Even if there were some competitions, they would rarely fight to the death. After all, the infernal realm had already set down a rule. Transcendents were forbidden from killing each other. If one killed, they would be investigated and punished accordingly. If it was serious, they would even be sentenced to death. Of course, this rule did not apply to the demonic faction, Sorcerer Palace, or the natives of the transcendent world. If the man in front of him was from the 6 great transcendent organizations, he should not do anything to him. But what about the demonic faction or Sorcerer Palace? It was highly possible that he would be killed. Of course, logically speaking, even if the demonic faction and Sorcerer Palace had spies, they should not have arrived faster than the 6 great transcendent organizations. Do you think you can escape? The half-bald man turned into a shadow and blocked Dongbui Shuiying. Following that, a black light slashed towards him. What a fast blade! Dongbui Shuiying retreated. The Feishui godly spear appeared in his hands as he poured his transcendent do chi into the spear. Oh! The spear swung upwards to meet the black blade light. However, the black blade light casually changed its direction and dodged Dongbui Shuiying's attack. Voila! However, the Feishui godly spear also changed its form. The spear itself turned in a circle, but this simple circle completely enveloped a large area in front of it. The water around the spear also revolved, making it impossible for the black blade light to dodge. With a chi sound, it collided with the body of Dongbui Shuiying's spear. A strange force caused Dongbui Shuiying's spear to pause for a moment. The short blade immediately broke through the spear's defense and entered into close combat. Dongbui Shuiying's expression changed. Open! Dongbui Shuiying activated his strength bloodline as he swept the spear in his hand to the side. Blazing flames appeared on the tip of the spear, and its speed was incomparably ferocious. In addition to the fact that the spear was long enough to cover a large area, the half-bald man could only retreat with a tap of his feet. The tip of the spear whistled past the half-bald man's body, and the half-bald man's attack completely missed. Hong Long Long, Dongbui Shuiying used all his strength to sweep the spear horizontally, and the shockwave formed from the pressure of the spear blasted towards the side. Everywhere the shockwave passed, the mountain rocks and trees crumbled, and the entire area was destroyed by the shockwave. Furthermore, this was merely the aftermath of the shockwave. You actually managed to block me? Interesting. The half-bald man's voice reverberated in the air. Who? His figure strangely floated upwards, and Dongbui Shuiying could feel his figure becoming blurry. In an instant he was already closing in on Dongbui Shuiying. Dongbui Shuiying had no choice but to spin his spear, forming a huge whirlpool of water in front of him. It was as though he was using a huge shield to block the enemy. Chi! Just like the previous time, the saber collided with the spear, causing the spear to stop in its tracks. However, this time the saber was actually stuck to the spear, causing Dongbui Shuiying to have a hard time even exerting his strength. Hua! The saber stuck to the spear, and along the edge of the spear, it slashed towards Dongbui Shuiying. Dongbui Shuiying was forced to let go of the Feishui godly spear, and at the same time he turned around to evade the saber. However, as he turned around, a shuttle-shaped dart appeared in both of Dongbu Shui Ying's hands. Shua shua shua. Under the explosive strength of Dongbu Shui Ying, countless darts were thrown towards the half-bald man. Throwing darts at such a close distance caused the half-bald man to retreat in shock. At the same time, a black saber flashed in a circle, blocking the darts that were flying towards him. Dongbu Shui Ying seized the opportunity to grab the spear back into his hands. "Brat, you can still throw darts?" The half-bald man felt helpless. "Looks like it will be difficult to defeat you if I suppress my strength. I'm afraid I'll have to wait for another 8 to 10 moves." Compared to senior, Dongbu Shui Ying is still far from being able to match up to you, Dongbu Shui Ying said. When they exchanged blows earlier, Dongbu Shui Ying's strength was actually weaker than his. Other than the burst of speed that allowed the other party to suppress his speed, the other party's speed was much slower. It was just that the other party's movements were unpredictable, and the other party's cultivation realm was much higher. That was why Dongbu Shui Ying could feel the gap between them. "I've already cultivated for over 800 years, and I'm already at the peak of the martial saint realm. If I'm the same as you, wouldn't it be embarrassing?" The half-bald man curled his lips. "I didn't expect that you not only grasped the profound mystery of fire in creation, but you also grasped the profound mystery of water in creation. Furthermore, it seems like there's a connection between water and fire." Dongbu Shui Ying was slightly shocked. This old fellow's eyesight was truly incredible. "You're only 28 years old, and you're already able to complement each other with water and fire. Who knows, you might be able to grasp the true meaning of water and fire in the future." The half-bald man flipped his hand and took out a piece of paper. He threw it casually, and the paper sliced through the air like a saber. Dongbu Shui Ying reached out and caught it. "This is the condition that our Bloodshed Tavern has set for you. As long as you join us, we will fulfill all of your conditions. Your comprehension is better than what I expected. I can make my own decision. The benefits on the paper can be increased by 50%. The half-bald man said, "I will stay in Azure River County for 10 days. If you agree to join my Bloodshed Tavern within these 10 days, tear this piece of paper and I will come over immediately." The half-bald man suddenly laughed. "Oh right, I haven't told you my name yet. I'm called Tu Liang." Tu Liang? Dongbu Shui Ying was shocked. Saint ranking number 10, Dark Knight Blade Demon Tu Liang, Bloodshed Tavern Assassin. Grasped the true meaning of Dark Knight. When the opponent exchanged blows earlier, he did not reveal the might of the profound mystery of myriad existences, nor did he reveal the might of his true meaning. Once he revealed it, there would be no need to fight anymore. Just by relying on some strange techniques, the opponent was able to suppress him. "Little water lady, you've been watching from the side for a while. Why haven't you shown yourself yet?" The half-bald man sneered. "Who are you calling little water lady?" An angry roar resounded in the air. A towering figure suddenly appeared at the top of the mountain. He was at least 2.5 meters tall and his body was sturdy. He was wearing a bronze armor, and there was a faint stream of water surrounding his body. Such a powerful existence. How could he not be angry when he was called Little Water Lady? "Haha, Little Water Lady is angry. Alright, I'm leaving. If I continue, this temple night will go crazy." The half-bald man's figure flashed and completely merged into the darkness, disappearing from sight. Chapter 95. The face of the tall and big knight in bronze armor was like a sculpture. Seeing that the Dark Knight Saber Demon Tu Liang had disappeared, he let out a cold snort and then looked toward Dongbu Shui Ying. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. "I'm Wen Liang from the Terrene Shrine. 21st on the Saint ranking, Water God Knight Wen Liang, Terrene Shrine's Knight, grasped the true meaning of water." Dongbu Shui Ying was speechless. Wen Liang? Another expert ranked on the Saint ranking? It was important to note that there were only 30 humans, natives of the transcendent world, and demonic beasts on the Saint ranking. Our Terrene Shrine has the most resources, and we even have many special techniques and secret arts passed down from the immortal realm. These are things that only our Terrene Shrine's internal members can learn. Water God Knight Wen Liang smiled and said, "Therefore, on the whole, our Terrene Shrine and Bloodshed Tavern are much stronger. Of course, for example, the current number 1 on the hallowed rankings, Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai, it's purely because his comprehension ability is too high. The cultivation technique he cultivates is inferior to ours." This is the list. Wen Liang threw out a piece of paper that was glowing red as well. The paper flew towards Dongbu Shui Ying and said, "You're actually able to comprehend the profound of water and fire creation at the same time. You're even more powerful than the information we received. I can make the decision to increase the resources and treasures on this paper by 50%. For the next 10 days I will also be staying in Azure River County. If you decide to join my Temple of the Earth God, you only need to tear the paper. I will be able to sense it and come over immediately. Dongbo Shuiying took the paper and looked at the conditions written on it. I won't stay any longer. I'll take my leave first. Wen Liang nodded slightly and instantly shot up into the sky, disappearing into the night. These two experts on the hallowed list came and left quickly. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the two lists. One was from the Terrene Shrine, while the other was from the Bloodshed Tavern. In the Bloodshed Tavern, 1. Extraordinary weapons can be chosen at will. The maximum value is 15 kilograms of third-tier origin stones. 2. You can choose any one of the 5 divine secret arts of slaughter. 3. You can choose any chi method you like. 300 kilograms of third-grade origin stones. Over at the Terrene Shrine. 1. Extraordinary weapons can be chosen at will. The maximum value is 50 kilograms of third-grade origin stones. 2. You can choose any one of the 10 great divine-level secret arts. 3. You can choose any chi method you like. 150 kilograms of third-tier origin stones. When Dongbo Shuiying returned to the castle, he sat on the bed and looked at the paper. Then he shook his head and said, God-tier secret skill, how tempting. It's a pity that the Terrene Shrine and Bloodshed Tavern have too many restrictions. As for transcendent weapons and origin stones. On the other hand, Dongbo Shuiying did not really care about it. To Transcendence, origin stones were extremely important. They could greatly increase the speed of their cultivation. For example, to cultivate from Sky Realm Initial Phase to Saint Realm Initial Phase, disregarding other bottlenecks, just the accumulation of energy. If one were to absorb the energy of heaven and earth, it would take around 700 years. One had to know that a Sky Realm Transcendent only had a lifespan of 800 years. Of course, to break through, the most important thing was still the realm. Origin stones are important, but Elder Lei Jin prepared a large number of origin stones in order to break through to the demigod level. Although he used up a lot of them, there are still over 3,000 kilograms left. Dongbo Shuiying thought to himself. Apart from the Oceanic World Stone and a protective inner armor, all the other valuable treasures that Elder Lei Jin had accumulated over his lifetime had been sold for origin stones. After exchanging for over 10,000 kilograms of origin stones, he had used up more than half of it for breaking through, but there was still a lot left. Over 3,000 kilograms of origin stones, even a peak Saint Realm expert would not be able to gather more than 3,000 kilograms of origin stones. Only those old fellows who had been adventuring for a long time, or those who were extremely strong like Chi Bai, or those who had had a fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, a normal peak Saint Realm expert would not be able to gather more than 3,000 kilograms of origin stones. Normal, origin stones were all third-tier origin stones. With so many origin stones on him, Dongbo Shuiying was naturally rich and overbearing. He placed more importance on techniques. Secret skills. The god-tier secret skills of the Bloodshed Tavern and the Terrene Shrine were passed down from the deity realm and were definitely not passed down to outsiders. They were the strongest secret skills in the world. Unless one joined these two sects, or joined the demonic faction, one would not be able to learn any god-tier secret skills. There are too many rules restricting me, making me feel uncomfortable. Dongbo Shuiying instantly decided, I'll temporarily give up on these two sections. The more arrogant one was, the more they disliked being restricted. Whether it was the Saint Rankings number 1 Xiao Bai or the Demigod Rankings number 1 Mountain Lord He, neither of them were from the Terrene Shrine or the Bloodshed Tavern. How could such peerless geniuses be restricted by you? The night passed. Early the next morning, the Tranquil Sun Province's Dragon Mountain Manor head, Yi Hong, found Dongbo Shuiying. Under the pavilion. The two sat facing each other. Lord Dongbo, you've caused me so much trouble. Yi Hong said helplessly, last night, I received news that you displayed the profound mystery of the water of myriad existences in the Bellfeather County of the Eastfield Province? Yes. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. He had used a stream of water to slap away a group of guards. You've grasped the water and fire of myriad existences at the same time, yet you didn't say anything. Yi Hong said helplessly, you should know that the stronger you are, the better the conditions that the various transcendent organizations will give you. I've already sent the news to everyone late at night. I'm ashamed. It's my fault. Dongbo Shuiying said. Are you still hiding your strength? Yi Hong asked, whatever strength you have, just tell me. Does awakening the primordial bloodline as a mortal count? Dongbua Shuang teased. Of course it does. Yi Hong stared. Can you control the energy of the world? Power burst. Dongbua Shuang said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Yi Hong was stunned, then helplessly said, all right, pretend I didn't say anything about this. Power burst was completely useless in comprehending the realm, unless one awakened a second time, but the second awakening of the primordial bloodline was too difficult. Currently, there wasn't a single transcendent in the world who could awaken the primordial bloodline a second time. After all, the moment it was awakened, one would be comparable to a true primordial life form. Yi Hong looked at the distant sky in shock. Dongbua Shuang turned to look as well. In midair, two figures were walking side by side. One was a white-haired handsome man, and the other was a beast-man lion man. Eternal Wind Knight, Wuxia Knight. Yi Hong said in shock. It's them? Dongbua Shuang was shocked as well, the strongest humans amongst saints. In the top 5 of the saint rankings, there was only one human, and that was Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Bai. Saint rankings number 6, Wuxia Knight, Tan Shi, Sea Deity Palace Elder. Started with the profound mysteries of the great mountain of all things. Grasped the true meaning of Wuxia. His might is so strong that he can be said to be number 1 amongst saints. Lord Dongbua, it seems like the various organizations hold you in high regard. They've sent their elders and they're all experts of the saint rankings. Yi Hong exclaimed. Amen. Dongbua nodded. Including the Dark Knight Blade Demon and the Water Deity Knight, the 4 that came were all experts of the saint rankings. Oh. Qiu Bai and Tan Shi landed side by side. Dongbua Shuang. Tan Shi grinned. Your 2 uncles are beastmen? Yes. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Tan Shi's gaze towards Dongbua Shuang was very intimate. The beastmen had an awkward position amongst the humans. Although the law stated that beastmen had equal status with other humans, there were still some who discriminated against beastmen. Even amongst the transcendents, there were still some who discriminated against beastmen transcendents. Moreover, the number of beastmen transcendents was low, and it was indeed very suffocating. Dongbua Shuang's relatives had 2 beastmen. This caused Tan Shi to have a very good impression of Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang. Qiu Bai spoke. His voice was rather gentle and his gaze was reserved. I'm guessing that you've met the people from the Temple of the Earth God and the Bloodshed Tavern. In terms of secret arts, our 4 transcendent organizations are definitely inferior to them. However, they have a lot of rules and are rather strict. My Water Taoist faction can compensate you in other aspects. This is the list. As he spoke, he threw out a piece of paper. Beside him, Tan Shi did the same. Yet another 2 lists. Dongbua Shuang took a look. Good heavens, Sea Deity Palace and Water Taoist faction had given even more treasures. Among them, Water Taoist faction had the most. You're from the Tranquil Sun province and so am I. Qiu Bai smiled. I hope that you can join the Water Taoist faction. After all, the 5 northern provinces are under the protection of our Water Taoist faction. My Tranquil Sun province only has a total of 2 saint experts. I hope that you can be the 3rd. Changfeng, he has just stepped into the transcendent realm and you think that he can become a saint? Tan Shi teased. I can't guarantee it. Qiu Bai looked at Dongbua Shuang. Your talent is very good. To be able to step into the transcendent realm at such a young age, and even grasp the profound mysteries of water and fire. Your comprehension is also very high. With such talent, if you are careless and arrogant, you might not be able to step into the saint realm. That would be too shameful. I'm guessing that this time, all the transcendent organizations will send out saint experts. What? Just because we all think that you can become a saint. I reckon that each organization's conditions are very high. The origin stones they give are enough for you to reach the saint primary phase. For example, the Temple of Earth God and Bloodshed Tavern, I reckon that they would give you a random God tier secret technique. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head lightly. Even the ordinary transcendents from the Temple of Earth God would have to go through a test and contribute in order to get a God tier secret technique. But for Dongbua Shuang, he would get one the moment he joined. For example, with the 600 kilograms of origin stones provided by the Water Taoist faction, Dongbua Shuang would be able to reach the saint primary phase just by absorbing the energy within the origin stones without absorbing any heaven and earth energy. Obviously, all the organizations felt that Dongbua Shuang was a good seedling. In the future, he would be able to become the backbone of the human race. Haha brat, give it your all. Tan Shi glanced at Qiu Bai beside him. In the past 1,000 years, the person beside me was the youngest to step into the transcendent realm. but now you have surpassed him. If you don't even reach the Saint Realm, Qiu Qibai will definitely be very angry. Qiu Qibai laughed. That afternoon and evening, Cloud Fog City and Black White Deity Mountain sent out their representatives. Similarly, they were all saint-ranked experts. It could be seen how much importance they placed on Dongbo Shuiying. From then on, all 6 transcendent organizations sent out invitations. Which side should he join? It all depended on Dongbo Shuiying's choice. Chapter 96. The other transcendents left after arriving, but Qiu Qibai and Tan Shi, the 2 strongest transcendents on the saint ranking, were temporarily staying at Snowrock Castle. In their words, they were temporarily protecting Dongbo Shuiying. Early morning. Dongbo Lai and his wife, Dongbo Shuiying, Qingshi, Zhongling and Tong San were all eating breakfast together. I want to hear father's opinion, Dongbo Shuiying said, explaining the pros and cons of joining a large organization. Why would you want to hear our opinion about joining a transcendent organization? Dongbo Lai said, we don't know much about transcendence. In short, whichever is the most suitable for you, just choose, don't worry about us. Mo Yang also said, right, how many people does our Dongbo clan have? We don't even have enough people to manage Water Rights Town, let alone Azure River County. Don't worry, Dragon Mountain Manor will have enough people. Dongbo Shuiying smiled. I'll say it again, choose whichever is the most suitable for you. Dongbo Lai said. Zhongling, Tong San and Qingshi also agreed. They obviously didn't want to affect Dongbo Shuiying's decision. After all, to them, transcendence were the most important matters. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. Since that's the case, I'll choose the Water Daoist faction. Water Daoist faction? Dongbo Lai was puzzled. What? Qingshi also asked. Brother, didn't you say that the Temple of the Earth God and the Bloodshed Tavern are the best in terms of secret techniques, and the Black White Deity Mountain is the best in terms of treasures? Dongbo Shuiying lightly nodded. The founders of the Black White Deity Mountain were 2 extremely powerful transcendent mages. Therefore, the Black White Deity Mountain had many mages, and would gradually attract more mages. They refined a large number of transcendent weapons and arrays, which attracted many transcendent knights to join them. This way they could obtain many transcendent weapons at a lower price. The Black White Deity Mountain managed 6 provinces, and Mountain Lord he was now recognized as the #1 under the heavens. The Terrene Shrine's Bloodshed Tavern has too many rules. It's not suitable for me. Dongbo Shuiying laughed. As for the other 4 big organizations, there isn't much difference between them. Since I'm from the Tranquil Sun province, it's more suitable for me to join the Water Daoist faction. The Water Daoist faction's Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qibai also treated me very well. In the morning, Dongbo Shuiying, Qiu Qibai and Tan Shi were all seated in the pavilion. Tower Lord Yi Hong stood at the side and poured tea for them. Clearly he was used to serving transcendents. You chose the Water Daoist faction? Tan Shi's lion eyes widened as he slapped his thigh and said, it's a pity that he didn't join our Sea God Palace. Your Sea God Palace had no hope in the first place, okay? Qiu Qibai smiled. He was in a good mood. My Water Daoist faction has never treated you as competitors. Tan Shi curled his lips. Look at how smug you are. Snow Eagle. Qiu Qibai also addressed him more intimately. From today onwards we are good brothers. You can just call me Brother Eternal Wind. This? Dongbo Shuiying was a little hesitant. Because he knew the rules of the 4 great transcendent organizations. Legend Rankers were disciples. Sky Realm Transcendents were protectors. Saint Realm Elders were elders. Demigods were the pinnacle. Even if they weren't the leaders of a transcendent organization, they would still be the Grand Elder, Honorable, Vice Mountain Lord, Vice Temple Lord and so on. Thus, under normal circumstances, Dongbo Shuiying would have to call him Elder Qi, or Elder Eternal Wind. Calling him Brother Eternal Wind was a little too arrogant. After all, he was the #1 on the Saint board. He had killed a transcendent world's indigenous demigod and defeated the demigod ghost deity knight Feng Dong. Don't be shy. Most of the transcendents in the Water Daoist faction come from the 5 northern provinces. Our Tranquil Sun province is naturally closer. Qiu Qibai laughed. Previously, our Tranquil Sun province had a total of 9 transcendents. Including you, it will be 10. Among them, Old Peng and I are Saint Rankers. The rest are Sky Realm Transcendents. I have high hopes for you, or rather, the entire world has high hopes for you. As long as you don't slack off, stepping into the Saint Realm won't be a problem. At that time, our Tranquil Sun province will have 3 Saint Rankers. Our tranquil sun province will be like brothers, so you don't have to be so polite. Demigod? No one dared to say. A demigod had a lifespan of 3,000 years. However, the entire Water Daoist faction only had 2 demigods. Just like Elder Leijin, he was not bad. He even had the Stone of the Ocean, but he still failed and died. There were too many similar cases. Only someone like Qiu Qibai, who was ranked first on the Saint board and was still young, would be thought to have a high chance of stepping into the demigod realm. Brother Eternal Wind. Dongbo Shuiying still didn't call him Brother Eternal Wind. You brat. Qiu Qibai laughed. With a flip of his hand, 3 bracelets appeared in his hand. 1 was black and 2 were white. This is the communication bracelet, a transcendent alchemy item. The black one is for you. The other 2 are white, and can be considered as ordinary communication bracelets. You can leave them for your family and you can contact them in the future. These white bracelets are very cheap. 1 gene of origin stones can be exchanged for 5 of them. If you need more, you can go buy them yourself. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes lit up, and he immediately took them. He kept the white bracelets for the time being. He easily refined the black bracelets with his transcendent qi, and when he put them on his arm, the black bracelets fused into his skin. Dongbo Shuiying sensed it. The inside of the black bracelet seemed to be 3-dimensional. There was a simple serial number. Water Tranquil Sun 29. Your communication serial number is Water Tranquil Sun 29. Qiu Qibai laughed. In the future, when you send messages, others will naturally discover your communication serial number. Every communication serial number represents a transcendent. Dongbo Shuiying was suddenly startled. Because 3 consecutive messages came through his communication bracelets, and his consciousness directly received them. It was extremely mystical. The 3 messages were, Water Tranquil Sun 16, I am Qiu Qibai. See God Tua Yin 9. Kid, I am Tan sure this is my communication serial number. Dragon Mountain Tranquil Sun. Master Dongbo, I am Yi Hong. Interesting. Dongbo Shuiying felt that it was very mystical. Alright, there is also a very special serial number. It is called, Xia People's Xn Hua. Qiu Qibai said, this is a serial number that every transcendent knows. The moment you meet with an extremely important matter or life or death situation, you can immediately ask for help. When you ask for help, you have to provide your location. Your communication bracelets have a map, and you can mark your location on the map, and then send a message to Xia People's Xn Hua. Dongbo Shuiying nodded his head. Because everything was transmitted through thought, how strong was the soul of a transcendent. Thus, in the blink of an eye, they would be able to transmit the message. Our 6 great transcendent organizations have the absolute advantage in terms of strength. Qiu Qibai laughed. Thus, the demonic faction and other demonic god organizations as well as the sorcerer god palace, would normally not dare to ambush you. As long as we find out that you are ambushed, a demigod expert that can travel through the void would instantly arrive. What if the opponent is strong enough to kill us in an instant? Dongbo Shuiying asked. If we die instantly, the communication bracelets will lose its owner, and will automatically send the location to Xia People's Xan Hua. We will also immediately kill our way over. Qiu Qibai said, thus, in the mortal world and the infernal world there would normally not be any danger. Unless the opponent carries the risk of starting a war with the 6 great organizations and insists on killing you. Such a reckless thing rarely happens, even I have not met with it before. Dongbo Shuiying heaved a sigh of relief. In terms of position and importance, Qiu Qibai was much higher than him. If the Sorcerer God Palace and the demonic faction wanted to kill a threat, they would probably have to target Qiu Qibai first. But the communication bracelets are unable to send messages outside of a world. Naturally, the world space has an isolating effect. Qiu Qibai said, only after countless years of operation in the infernal world can we naturally communicate with the outside world. But the other transcendent worlds, regardless of whether they are large or small worlds, are all isolated from the outside world. The outside world is unable to contact you. You are also unable to contact the outside world. Thus, entering a transcendent world is very dangerous. On one hand, the aboriginals of the transcendent world hate us. On the other hand, if the Sorcerer God Palace and the demonic faction were to meet you in such a transcendent world, they would most likely kill you. Under such circumstances, being unable to contact the outside world is extremely dangerous. Qiu Qibai said, in the transcendent world there are times when some of the transcendents from the 6 great organizations would kill you out of greed. After all, Being unable to contact the outside world as long as you do not expose yourself, no one would know. Qiu Qibai looked at Dongbo Shuiying and said, fortunately, before stepping into the saint rank, other than the infernal world, transcendents are forbidden from entering other transcendent worlds. Understood. Dongbo Shuiying nodded his head. In terms of safety, the 6 great organizations had clearly considered it carefully. When are you going to the Water Taoist faction? Qiu Qibai asked. I have just escaped from the Black Wind Abyss and have just reunited with my parents. I plan to stay here for a few more days, probably within a month. Then I will depart for the Water Taoist faction. Dongbo Shuiying said. Alright, then I won't be staying here any longer. The location of the Water Taoist faction is shown on the map inside the communication wristband. When the time comes, you should hurry over. Qiu Qibai stood up. Tanshur also smiled and said, Dongbo Shuiying, cultivate well and step into the saint rank as soon as possible. That way we will be able to explore the transcendent world side by side. I will definitely do my best. Dongbo Shuiying also stood up to send them off. Woohoo! Qiu Qibai and Tanshur quickly broke through the sky and disappeared into the horizon. Lord Yi Hong, who had been standing by the side, smiled and said, Congratulations, Sir Dongbo. Since Sir Dongbo has joined the Water Taoist faction, then Azure River County will naturally be under the control of the Dongbo clan. Since the Dongbo clan does not have enough manpower, our Dragon Mountain Manor will be at your disposal. In the entire Azure River County, the Sea Clan, Zhang Clan and other legend-ranked clans that dare to disobey us will be killed and captured. The Sea Clan has too many claws and teeth in Azure River County, occupying too many official positions. This is a huge obstacle for the Dongbo clan to control Azure River County. Now, I will immediately arrange for the Sea Clan to be chased away. Our Dragon Mountain Manor will temporarily send someone to take over. In the future, the Dongbo clan can always send someone to take over. Actually, our Dragon Mountain Manor is the most straightforward in carrying out orders. All right. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. In terms of mundane matters, the Dragon Mountain Manor would handle them very cleanly, resolving the worries of the Transcendents. Chapter 97. Then I'll take my leave. Lord Dongbo can give me any instructions through the communication wristband. Lord Yi Hong said. Then I'll have to trouble Lord Yi Hong. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. This is what our Dragon Mountain Manor should do. As for Azure River County, I'll make arrangements now. Within 3 days, everything will be ready. After that, I'll send a detailed list of names to Lord Dongbo. Furthermore, I'll also establish a branch of Dragon Mountain Manor at the foot of Snowrock Mountain to listen to the orders of the Dongbo clan. Lord Yi Hong said with a smile. Good. Dongbo Shuiying was very satisfied. Dragon Mountain Manor was indeed very considerate in handling matters. Following which Yi Hong turned into a ray of light and flew away. Noon. Snowrock Castle. In the dining hall of the castle, a family was gathered together for a meal. Dongbo Shuiying enjoyed the joy of a family reunion. For this day he had been longing for and struggling for too long. Oh yes, father, mother, Azure River County will be taken over by our clan. Dongbo Shuiying said. Will take over? Then what about the Sea Clan? Dongbo Lai wasn't afraid. After all, he had risked his life on the line too many times. Furthermore, he managed the entire Snow Eagle territory in an orderly manner. If he really wanted to take over, he would definitely be able to. That's right, brother. The Sea Clan has deep roots in our Azure River County. They have people in almost every industry. Jingshi said. Dongbo Shuiying shook his head. Deep roots? That's a joke in front of Transcendents. In the past, our Azure River County didn't have any Transcendents. That's why the Sea Clan could gradually infiltrate and control the entire Azure River County. Now that I've become a Transcendent, according to the rules of the Water Taoist faction, Azure River County will naturally be under the control of our Dongbo clan. This is the rule of the Water Taoist faction. Other Transcendents can't stop it. Dongbo Shuiying said, within 3 days many government positions in Azure River County will be taken over by the people of Dragon Mountain Manor. Furthermore, they will establish a branch of Dragon Mountain Manor at the foot of Snowrock Mountain to listen to Father's orders. Father, when you have the right people, you can order someone to take over at any time. The people from Dragon Mountain Manor are just passing through. Dongbo Shuiying said casually. To him, these mortal powers were meaningless. Transcendents had very long lifespans. In the beginning they would have more entanglements with mortals, but as time went on, they would have fewer and fewer entanglements with mortals. There were even some Transcendents who were so selfish that they didn't care about mortals at all and joined the demon faction. Dongbo Shuang did not care much about other people. However, he still cared about his family. At the very least, he would try his best to let his family live a better life while they were still alive. Haha Dongbua. Zhongling smiled and said, when we risked our lives together, did you think that you would have such a day like this? He will become the first marquis of a 1,000-year-old transcendent family. How could I have imagined it? I wouldn't even dare to dream about it. Dongbo laughed. Dongbo Shuang suddenly looked outside the door. Rumble, under the power of heaven and earth, the doors of the dining hall closed. The Dongbo couple, Qing Shi and the rest were all stunned as they looked at Dongbo Shuang in confusion. Why did he suddenly close the doors? Dongbo Shuang waved his hand and 5 large wine vats appeared on the floor. Snow Eagle, what is this? Tong San asked curiously. This is a type of transcendent spiritual liquid. Dongbo Shuang said, every wine vat contains more than 150 jin of transcendent spiritual liquid. It is enough for a transcendent to drink for 10 years. The endurance of a mortal's body is weaker. Under normal circumstances, it is enough for a mortal to drink for 100 years. Mo Yangyu was shocked. Snow Eagle, is this the same spiritual liquid you gave me to drink? She had drunk it before, so she was very clear about the miraculous effects of this spiritual liquid. It could make up for the many flaws in her body and even heal the injuries to her soul. How miraculous was this? In her opinion, any bottle of this spiritual liquid would be worth a sky-high price. It could heal injuries to the soul. Ah, that's right. Dongbo Shuang said. This is too precious. Snow Eagle will use it too. Mo Yang, you wanted to stop him. I still have more. Dongbo Shuang said, this is beneficial to your cultivation. I don't lack this. This kind of transcendent spiritual liquid is indeed precious. To avoid trouble, you must not tell anyone, especially Qing Shi. No matter how close you are to him, you must not leak this information to anyone. If you really want to give it to others, just say that I gave it to you. Do not let others know that you have so much of it. Brother, don't worry. I'm not that stupid. Qing Shi laughed. Dongbo Shuang nodded his head. This spiritual liquid was very beneficial to transcendent cultivators. To mortals, it was even more shocking. Actually, the spiritual liquid in these 5 wine vats could only be used by transcendents for 50 years. It was worth around 1,500 jin of origin stones. Normally, even if his brother revealed a little and gave some to important people, it would not even be worth half a jin of origin stones. With Dongbo Shuiying's status as a transcendent, it was just a small matter. The amount of spiritual liquid from the stone of oceanic world was not much. The amount was shocking. That piece of stone of oceanic world was enough for a transcendent to use for 1,000 years. It was worth around 30,000 jin of origin stones. It was much more valuable than Dongbo Shuiying's Saint-grade inner armor and the pile of origin stones. Even a demigod would be tempted by it. That was why Elder Lei Zhen left behind an array before his death. He would rather destroy it than let the demonic beasts take advantage of it. Shuiying also hoped that his family members could live for a longer period of time. Snowrock Mountain was very peaceful. However, the Azure River County City was in a state of turmoil. From the county lord to the officers of the city guards, everyone was kicked out. What is your Dragon Mountain Manor doing? You are making an enemy out of my Sea clan and the Water Taoist faction behind us. Lord Sea, if you resist, we can only kill you. What are you doing? Go back and ask your Sea clan's ancestor. When the Dragon Mountain Manor revealed their fangs, the Sea clan's so-called deep-rooted power was completely uprooted. At the same time when the Dragon Mountain Manor acted, the Water Taoist faction also sent a message to the legend rankers of Azure River County, telling them, Dong Bo Shuiying has become a transcendent and will join my Water Taoist faction. Azure River County will be under the control of the Dong Bo clan. In terms of seniority, Si Liang Hong and the other legend rankers were all disciples of the Water Taoist faction. Dongbo Shuiying was a protector. He was a whole generation higher than them. The Imperial Alchemy Workshop in the county city. This was the largest alchemy workshop in the entire Azure River County. There were a large number of mages researching and working here. It was simply a city within a city. Many of the terrifying tools used by the army were supplied here. In one of the laboratories, the handsome mage Si Chen was conducting some experiments while Kong Yu was watching from the side. Do you see it? This is the problem with your previous spell model. It's too trivial. The more perfect the spell model is, the closer it is to nature. Si Chen taught from the side, Actually, when you study the spell model, look at it yourself first. If you feel that it's not natural enough, then there's usually a problem. Even if it can be used, the efficiency will be very low. Sichin, you're really amazing. Yu said in admiration. Sichin was very satisfied. He rubbed his head. Try modifying it again. Yu immediately started experimenting. Some of the materials were directly used. The Sea clan was able to place people into the Empire's army. They could also place a genius mage like Sichin into the Imperial Alchemy Workshop. This kind of workshop had the most abundant materials for experiments. With Sichin's status, he could experiment as much as he wanted. If it was within the Sea clan, the materials used would still be very painful. But in the Imperial Alchemy Workshop, if it was used up, then so be it. With Sichin's help, Yu also entered the Imperial Alchemy Workshop. She could experiment as much as she wanted. Her strength improved very quickly. As early as 2 years ago, she had already become a heaven-ranked mage. Until now, Yu still maintained a vague relationship with Sichin. In Yu's words, "We are still young. Let's study spells first." Always like this. Ping. Suddenly the outside door was pushed open. "There's an experiment here." Sichin looked outside angrily. It was taboo to disturb someone during an experiment. 2 old mages walked in. One of them was a black-robed mage. "Mage Sichin, from today onwards, you must leave the Imperial Alchemy Workshop." What? Sichin was stunned. "There's no why." The black-robed mage looked at Yu who was beside Sichin. "Mage Yu, you must also leave." Yu was a little confused. Her days here were so comfortable. She could use any materials she wanted. She also knew many powerful mages in Azure River County. This was the place where most mages gathered. Using materials so casually, do you think anyone can? The other red-robed mage sneered. "You must leave before nightfall. Otherwise we can only expel you by force." Very soon, Sichin, Yu and the other 12 mages of the Sea clan were all driven out of the Imperial Alchemy Workshop. If they had the ability to bring benefits to the Imperial Alchemy Workshop, they would still be invited to stay. But Sichin and the others were here to take advantage of them. Although Sichin was a genius mage, refining alchemy items required experience, patience, and a long time. Sichin was here for cultivation. He wasted countless materials in his experiments. How could he waste time to make alchemy items? In the past he had the help of the Sea clan. But now, with a single order from the Dragon Mountain Manor, they were all kicked out. "Sichin, what's wrong? What happened?" Yu was at a loss. Even Sichin, the pride of the Sea clan, was driven out. Even the mages of the Sea clan were driven out. Did the Sea clan lose their power? Nothing. Sichin was also a little uneasy. Yu was even more worried. After leaving the Imperial Alchemy Workshop, the Sea clan should continue to nurture Sichin. But what about her? How could the Sea clan nurture her? The Sea clan can cover the sky with one hand in Azure River County. How could they be driven out? What happened? Yu panicked. Chapter 98. On the same night, a piece of news spread like wildfire throughout the Azure River County, quickly spreading to the rest of the country. This news was, Azure River County's water rights town Snow Eagle Territory's Lord Dongbu Shuang had become a transcendent. Countless people were shocked. Many people in the Azure River County cheered, and many restaurants and pubs were discussing this matter. Everyone was proud that their hometown had a transcendent. Regardless of where one was in the Dragon Mountain Empire, there were many people who liked to hear about transcendents. A certain transcendent pretended to be an old beggar, and a powerful family's playboy bullied the old beggar, and then, the family was finished. Then, by chance, he met a transcendent who did not reveal his identity. From then on he rose to the top. In short, in the legends, transcendents were related to various fortuitous encounters, big clans, demons from the dark abyss, terrifying beasts, or even gods. Our Azure River County also has a transcendent. I knew it. Dongbu Shuang was able to kill Xiang Pangyun at the age of 22. If he lived, he would definitely become a transcendent. Look, how many years has it been? Even the Black Wind Abyss could not stop a transcendent. It is said that Dongbu Shuang has been practicing the spear since he was young. His spear techniques are profound, and he already had the strength of a Silver Moon Knight at the age of 15. You underestimate Dongbu Shuang too much. He killed Xiang Pangyun at the age of 22. I'm afraid he already has the strength of a legend ranker at the age of 15. Many stories spread, and the more they spread, the more exaggerated they became. In fact, this was very normal. Stories about transcendence had always been mysterious. On the morning of the second day, a refiner flying ship landed at the foot of Snowrock Mountain, and a group of people walked up. "We are legend rankers from the Azure River County. We are here to seek an audience with Lord Dongbo Shuiying." 6 silhouettes stood at the entrance of the castle, all of them being legend rankers. The one in the lead was the alluring woman with long red hair, Si Liang Hong. Si Liang Hong had the body of a blood demon, and her charm was extremely astonishing. Even the ordinary guards at the entrance of the castle felt their bodies heating up. But when they heard Si Liang Hong's words, they were shocked. All of them were legend rankers? In just a short moment, Si Liang Hong and the other 5 were allowed to enter. "His lordship is over there." A maid led the way. Si Liang Hong's group of 6 saw 2 people sitting under a pavilion in the distance. One of them was extraordinarily handsome, and could be considered a dragon among men. As for the other black-robed youth, he looked ordinary, but all 6 of them were one with the world. They could faintly sense the invisible pressure coming from the black-robed youth, causing their hearts to palpitate with fear. "Greetings, Protector." Si Liang Hong and the other 5 bowed respectfully. Dongbo Shuiying turned to look at him. "What's the matter?" The leader, Si Liang Hong, respectfully said, "We have already received an order from the Water Taoist faction. From today onwards, the Azure River County will be under the control of the Protector's clan. If there's anything the Dongbo family needs us to do, just let us know." "Understood." Dongbo Shuiying nodded his head. "Protector." Si Liang Hong's voice suddenly became soft. Through the power of the heavens and earth, it resounded in Dongbo Shuiying's ears. "Our Si family has a girl called Kong Yuyu. I heard that she and Protector are old friends. How do you want to deal with this girl?" Dongbo Shuiying's growth, Si Liang Hong was very clear about it. In the past she didn't care about Kong Yuyu. But now she didn't dare to act recklessly. She didn't dare to support her, but she also didn't dare to execute her. "You?" Dongbo Shuiying thought of this little girl. Yi was a scheming girl. In the past she had angered him to no end. The reason why he was so angry was because Kong Yuyu had lived in Snowrock Castle for more than 6 years. He had watched her grow up. Although there was no love between them, there was still a friendship between them. But who would have thought that everything was just a lie? "Let nature take its course," Dongbo Shuiying said. "Let nature take its course?" Si Liang Hong didn't dare to ask any more. Very soon Si Liang Hong and the rest left. Dongbo Shuiying didn't have much to say to them. They were here to show their attitude. As for gifts, to give a gift to a transcendent? What a joke. "Brother, the leader is Si Liang Hong. Is she a few hundred years old?" Qing Shi whispered. Just now he was quite nervous and excited. "She has transformed into a blood demon body. She has a lifespan of 800 years. Dongbo Shuiying said. "Qing Shi, let me ask you again. Do you really want to go to Eternal Wind Academy?" And Qing Shi nodded. "Mages still need a teacher to guide them. I really want to walk further on the path of a mage. Actually, when you fell into the Black Wind Abyss, I regretted not cultivating properly. At that time, I understood that external forces are useless. My own strength is the foundation. I want to grasp more." That feeling of powerlessness, he never wanted to experience it again. "All right." Dongbo Shuiying nodded. He agreed with him. "Father and mother just came back. You should accompany them for a few months. It won't be too late to go to Eternal Wind Academy. At that time, I will help you arrange for a transcendent mage to teach you." And, "Thank you, brother." Qing Shi nodded. He didn't want to rely on his own strength to find a teacher. To have a transcendent as a teacher, he was very willing. The matter of his brother going to Eternal Wind Academy was quickly known by Dongbo Lai and his wife. They were also very reluctant. However, they had often risked their lives in the past. They were quite open-minded. They also understood that going to Eternal Wind Academy was very beneficial to their son. Moreover, it wasn't immediately. It was a matter of a few months later. Moreover, they could go to Eternal Wind Academy to see Qing Shi. Far away. With the refiner flying ship, it wasn't far at all. Shuiying left behind many gold notes and other items left behind by Xiang Pangyun to his parents. That time, the gold notes within Xiang Pangyun's storage treasure had been piled up into a small pile. This Beast Clan assassin who enjoyed slaughtering had accepted missions from the Bloodshed Tavern time after time, earning a huge amount of gold coins. After many years of accumulating and perhaps spending on other aspects, he had left behind a total of more than 8 million gold coins. It was very exaggerated. In the entire Azure River County, Perhaps only the Sea clan could compare to him. Time passed day by day. Dongbua Shuiying accompanied his parents. After all, once he went to Water Daoist faction, he would soon have to go to the infernal world. If he went to the infernal world, he wouldn't be able to return for a few years. This made Dongbua Lai and his wife quite reluctant. After reuniting, the two sons wanted to go their separate ways. Since their youngest son was at Eternal Wind Academy, they could at least visit him. But since Dongbua Shuiying was going to the infernal world, they couldn't go. A refiner flying ship landed at the foot of Snowrock Mountain. From the flying ship, a large group of people walked out. The one leading them was the silver-robed woman, Mo Yang Qi. Behind her was a group of Mo Yang clan elders and other elites. All of them were extremely nervous. They looked at the winding mountain road and at the faintly discernible castle at the top of the mountain. Mo Yang Qi took a deep breath. The hearts of the others were beating wildly. The time to decide the fate of our Mo Yang clan has arrived. Mo Yang Qi tried to calm her nerves and ordered, "Go, follow me up the mountain." Everyone obediently walked up the mountain. Chapter 99. In front of the castle's main building, Dongbua Lai and his wife stared at a group of people walking over. "Brother, what do you think father and mother will do? Will they let the Mo Yang clan off so easily?" Qing Shi, who was standing at the side, asked quietly. "Since we promised father and mother to let them handle it, we don't need to worry about it." As Shuiying looked on, he suddenly frowned. The silver-robed woman, Mo Yang Qi, was walking at the very front. Behind her was a group of clan elders, and there was a gray-robed man. He was none other than his uncle Mo Yang Qin, whom he had met when he was young. Mo Yang Qi, lead the elders here to apologize to Marquis Dongbua and his wife. Mo Yang Qi knelt down without hesitation. Wah! The group of elders behind her knelt down as well. This scene caused Dongbua Shuiying's eyelids to twitch. No. Mo Yang Yu's expression changed. She immediately rushed over to help her brother Mo Yang Qin. "Get up, get up." Dongbua Lai also went over to help them up. "Our Mo Yang clan indeed owes you and your wife." Mo Yang Qi did not get up. The elders behind her were still kneeling. No matter how Mo Yang Yu and Dongbua Lai tried to pull them up, they remained kneeling. Followed by a cold snort. A surge of transcendent Do Qi formed a fan shape and appeared out of nowhere. It swept across Mo Yang Qi and the group of elders. However, it avoided Dongbua Lai and his wife. Mo Yang Qi and the group of elders were all sent flying. Some fell on the ground, some hit the wall, and the weaker ones vomited blood on the spot. Mo Yang Qi and the group of elders' expressions changed. They looked at the cold-faced Dongbua Shuiying in fear. "Apologize? Kneel?" Dongbua Shuiying sneered. "What's the point of doing this? This is the dossier." Mo Yang Qi reacted quickly. With a flip of her hand, she picked up a dossier and stood up. She respectfully presented it to Mo Yang Yu. "Wife Marquis, please take a look." "Dossier?" Mo Yang Yu looked at Mo Yang Qi with a complicated expression. This was the clan leader, the high and mighty clan leader of the past. Actually, Dongbua Lai, Dongbua Shuiying and the rest were all disgusted with the Mo Yang clan, but Mo Yang Yu was the most conflicted. He flipped open the dossier and read it carefully. What a 1,000-year-old family. When Mo Yang Yu saw this, her complexion turned ugly. All the branches and bloodlines are competing so ruthlessly. So there are so many reasons why my father died so early. 5,869 people, execute them. More than 20,000 people were convicted of serious crimes. Mo Yang Yu flipped to the end and was somewhat shocked. What? Dongbua couldn't believe it. 5,000 people were executed and 20,000 people were convicted? Qing Shi was shocked. Even Dongbua Shuiying was shocked. This was too ruthless. This was because the entire Mo Yang clan, including the guards and servants, only had about 100,000 people. As for those who could be convicted, if they were servants or guards, they would be relatively close to the master. The large-scale guards of the clan usually wouldn't get involved. Excluding the large-scale guards, the entire clan only had about 50 to 60,000 people. Killing 30,000 people? So ruthless. Actually, this kind of internal strife within a large clan was very common. Once it was discovered, it would implicate many people. This time, the Mo Yang clan wanted to quench Dongbua Shuiying's anger and also wanted to use this opportunity to reorganize the clan. They wanted to get rid of many malignant tumors. In the past, even the clan leader wouldn't act so recklessly. But this time the clan leader was holding the banner of quenching the anger of transcendence, so naturally he would cut the Gordian knot. Of the 5,800 people who were killed, over 3,000 had no relationship with Mo Yangyu, or it could be said that their relationship was very shallow. The 20,000 people who were convicted were all thugs and guards. They were all subordinates who had been purged and were directly sentenced to hard labor. Here is 10 million gold notes. Mo Yangqi then took out a thick stack of gold notes. Every single one of them was worth 100,000 gold coins, a total of 100 of them. To actually be able to take out so much. Dongbo Shuang was also surprised. Xiang Pangyun had left behind 8 million gold coins. Although the Xi clan might have a little more, their assets were not much. After all, the founder of the Mo Yang clan was a transcendent, a true transcendent. Therefore the Mo Yang clan's foundation was very deep. But after 1,000 years, many of the family assets were fixed assets, such as gold refining workshops, territories, large castles, shops and so on. To take out 10 million gold notes was also very difficult. Actually, this time the Mo Yang clan had killed many malignant tumors and seized their assets. Many of them were directly mortgaged to the empire's banks to obtain many gold notes. Then, from the clan's treasury, they were able to gather 10 million gold coins. This was almost a third of the Mo Yang clan's assets. Moreover, the clan's elders have unanimously agreed to appoint Mo Yang Qin as the new clan leader. Mo Yang Qi said, "Brother?" Mo Yangyu was somewhat stunned. The corner of Dongbo Shui Ying's mouth slightly curled upwards. Truly ruthless. Allowing his own uncle to become the clan leader, killing or convicting 30,000 members of the clan, and giving him 10 million gold coins. His mother and uncle were biological siblings after all, and their relationship was very deep. In the blink of an eye, it was time for Dongbo Shuang to leave. Early morning. In the training grounds, Dongbo Shuang was training his fists. The spear was an extension of his fists. Dongbo Shuang loved to train his spear arts, but at the same time he also loved to train his fists. His body was as perfect as one. His strength circulated within his body, and every move he made was either retracted or released. Hu! Dongbo Shuang stopped and let out a long breath. The surrounding air trembled for a moment before returning to normal. Snow Eagle, come, drink some tea and eat some snacks. Seeing that Dongbo Shuang had stopped, Mo Yangyu called out. And Dongbo Shuang smiled as he walked over and drank the tea in one gulp. After that he picked up the snacks and started eating. Mother, the snacks you make are still the best. After so many years, I haven't eaten such delicious snacks since I was 8 years old. There are so many good chefs in the castle, but none of them can cook better than me? Mo Yangyu laughed. I'm not lying, there really isn't. Dongbo Shuang quickly finished the large plate of snacks. This month was too comfortable. Ever since he was 8 years old, he had been training his spear arts with all his might. After that, he fell into the Black Wind Abyss and stayed there alone for 6 years. The past month was like a dream to him. You're leaving in the afternoon? Mo Yangyu suddenly asked. And yes, I'm leaving in the afternoon. Dongbo Shuang laughed. If this goes on, I'm afraid I'll become a hedonistic young master. Hedonistic young master will be hedonistic young master. Mo Yangyu was reluctant to part with her son. I still want to walk further on the path of transcendence. Dongbo Shuang laughed as he reminisced about the past. When I was young, I loved to read the biographies of transcendents. Looking at those transcendents, I would even dream of flying in the sky and burrowing into the ground, drinking with the gods and catching a few demons to play with. Now that I've stepped on this path, of course I have to work hard to walk further. This path is quite interesting. If it was said that in the past 20 years, he didn't dare to slack off because he wanted to save his parents. But now it was because of his heart's desire. Furthermore, there was another reason that he didn't say. When he saw the Xi clan and the other clans bowing their heads, when he saw the Mo Yang clan kneeling down, Dongbo Shuang swore that he would definitely not let his family fall to such a state. Big brother Chang Feng and the others all have high hopes for me. I'm the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years. If I continue to decline like this, I'm afraid I'll become the biggest joke in the eyes of all the transcendents in Dragon Mountain Empire. Dongbo Shuang laughed. That afternoon. After lunch, Qing Shi, Dongbo Lai couple, Zhong Ling and Tong San stood at the entrance of the castle to send Dongbo Shuang off. There's no need to send me off. If there's anything, you can contact me through the communication wristband. Dongbo Shuang smiled. That's all, I'll be leaving now. Brother, I'll definitely become a transcendent too. Qing Shi suddenly shouted. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. Zhongling, Tong San and Dongbua Lai couple all laughed. Good, you're ambitious. Dongbua Shuang also laughed. Qingshi, I'll be waiting for you. Emin? Qingshi nodded. Oh. Following that, Dongbua Shuiying's body was bathed in the light of the flames. He looked at his family members and grinned. Then he soared into the sky and flew towards the north, disappearing into the horizon. End of this chapter. Chapter 100. Surrounded by flames, Dongbua Shuiying flew towards the north at high speed. At the same time he looked down at the scenery below. The further north he flew, the lower the temperature became. The number of cities and villages on the ground also became fewer and fewer. A piece of pure white. The vast northern snow plains appeared in his field of vision. The 5 northern provinces were all connected to the snow plains. The northern snow plains was extremely vast, spanning hundreds of thousands of li. There were no traces of humans here, but there were some unique beasts living in the snow plains. Rumble, a group of gigantic beasts the size of a small mountain was galloping. Snow plains white mammoths? Dongbua Shuiying flew in the sky and looked down. The group of gigantic beasts were at least 10 meters tall. Their 4 hooves were extremely thick and their fur was thick and long. Even if the Silver Moon Knights attacked with all their might, it would be hard for them to pierce through this thick layer of fur. Not to mention the thick layer of fat beneath the fur. It was almost impossible for a Silver Moon Knight to kill a Snow Plains white mammoth. And they loved to live in groups. When a large group of Snow Plains white mammoths galloped, even a Legend Knight would not dare to face them head-on. The human army would be easily crushed. These Snow Plains white mammoths are quite docile. Dongbua Shuiying smiled as he looked at them. Because they were docile, they were easily tamed. Some of the cruel beasts in the Great Snow Plains had already been killed by the humans. As he flew, the further north he went, the colder the wind became like knives. Water Taoist faction. Dongbua Shuiying's eyes lit up. After flying for 120,000 li, he finally reached his destination. The Great Snow Plains also had a chain of tall mountains. On one of the mountains that stretched for thousands of li, there was a Taoist faction. South, Dongbua Shuiying turned into a ray of light and descended from the sky, landing at the entrance of the Taoist faction. Protector Dongbua. A deep voice sounded. Dongbua was slightly startled. The entire Taoist temple was made of dark gray metal. There were meandering carvings on the walls of the Taoist temple. On the left side of the Taoist temple, there was a strange bird carving, and on the right side there was a giant dragon carving. At that moment, the dragon carving on the right side was speaking, and its mouth was still moving. Dongbua Shuiying was also startled. This was obviously not an alchemy creature, it was just a pattern. Protector Dongbo, a ray of light flew out from the Taoist temple and appeared at the entrance of the Taoist temple. It was a handsome man with a divine sword on his back. Our entire Water Taoist temple is an assembly-type semi-divine artifact. As for Senior Dragon and Senior Sparrow, they are both artifact spirits that have existed since the establishment of this Taoist temple. Greetings Senior Dragon, Senior Sparrow. Dongbua Shuiying bowed respectfully. At the same time he was secretly surprised. According to what he knew, under normal circumstances, only divine artifacts would have artifact spirits. Demigod artifacts almost never had an artifact spirit. As for the importance of divine artifacts to the Xia people, it was even more important than the birth of a deity. That was because those deities who had just broken through did not know how to refine divine artifacts. The divine artifacts that the Xia people currently possessed were all passed down from the deity world or the dark abyss. Brat, train properly. I have made a bet with the old dragon that you will become a saint within 50 years, Senior Sparrow said. Don't give the youngsters any pressure. As long as you can break through within 100 years, it would already be an amazing feat, Senior Dragon added. Seniors, I still need to guide Protector Dongbua. I will not disturb you any further, the handsome man said. He then brought Dongbua Shuiying into the Taoist temple. The inside of the Taoist temple was rather peaceful. The mountain path was winding and the ground was covered with snow. Occasionally, there would be small courtyards on both sides of the Taoist temple. Whenever they saw Dongbua Shuiying, they would respectfully bow. My name is Gong Liang Yuan, and I have just become a saint. The handsome man smiled. This Taoist temple is a quiet place for training. At most, there are only legend rankers here. Normally, there would be hundreds of legend rankers training here. Normally, only when they feel that they cannot improve any further would they return home. As for transcendence, most saints and demigods would stay in the Taoist temple to train. As for sky realm transcendents, there are very few of them in the Taoist temple. They are either in the infernal realm or the mortal world. Before the age of 500, most transcendents would be very attached to the mortal world. However, as time passes, they would rarely move about in the mortal world. Gong Liang Yuan said, "This is your first time coming to the Taoist temple. To you, the most important thing is to choose a Douqi technique and secret technique. Also, there are transcendent weapons and origin stones." Entering the secluded Taoist temple, Dongbua Shuiying was led by Gong Liang Yuan to collect the 600 kilograms of origin stones. Following which, he went to choose a Douqi technique. Brother Dongbua, for normal transcendence, regardless of origin stones, techniques, secret techniques, weapons etc., they all require transcendent contribution points to exchange for them. Gong Liang Yuan exclaimed. Thinking back then I would risk my life to accept transcendent missions. Sometimes I would even risk my life to obtain transcendent contribution points, after which I would have to count on my fingers to exchange for techniques and secret techniques. Compared to other transcendents, Brother Dongbua, you indeed have a lot of resources. I am ashamed, Dongbua Shuiying said. There is nothing to be ashamed of. These resources were actually obtained by saints and even demigods risking their lives to obtain them. It is impossible for every ordinary transcendent to obtain a pile of resources. To obtain them, you can only exchange them with your own contribution points. Only an extremely small number of absolute geniuses like you, Brother Dongbo, would be able to directly obtain resources to groom them. Gong Liang Yuan said. Dongbua Shuiying was very clear. Origin stones had to be obtained from the transcendent world. And to risk one's life in the transcendent world, one had to at least have the strength of a saint. Saints could only obtain large amounts of origin stones by risking their lives. Douqi Pavilion. It was a very ordinary wooden pavilion with 3 floors. Dongbua Shuiying went in to look for a suitable Douqi technique for himself. Douqi techniques were very important, because with them, one would be able to increase one's cultivation speed, allowing one's Douqi to reach godhood. But it was not important. Every transcendent would choose the best Douqi technique. Under the circumstances where transcendent contribution points were scarce, they would rather exchange for it step by step. First, he would exchange for the Sky Tier technique. Then he would exchange for the Saint Tier technique after he reached Saint Tier. There are only 2 types of God Tier Flame Douqi, Starfire Douqi and Fire Dragon Douqi. Dongbua Shuiying flipped through and pondered. He could choose any Douqi technique regardless of the price. Which one should I choose? Fire Dragon Douqi is more ferocious. Starfire Douqi is more balanced. Dongbua Shuiying thought for a while and made his decision. I will choose Starfire Douqi. Choosing a Douqi technique was relatively simple. After all, techniques were meant to be cultivated. As for combat, it depended on one's technique, experience, level, weapon, secret techniques, etc. Technique, experience, and level were all internal and needed to be slowly accumulated. But weapons and secret techniques could be chosen. The reason why there were so many transcendents joining the Temple of the Earth God and Bloodshed Tavern was because they had God-tier secret techniques. Brother Dongbua, you have to think carefully before choosing a weapon and secret technique. Gong Liang Yuan said, you can only choose one secret technique. In the future, the other secret techniques will have to be exchanged for with transcendent contribution points. So, you have to think carefully. Otherwise it would be too late for regrets. I know. Dongbua Shuiying was also very cautious. Should we choose a weapon or a secret technique first? Gong Liang Yuan asked. Let's choose a weapon first. It's easier to choose a weapon than a secret technique. After all, secret techniques are the most important. Dongbua Shuiying said. In terms of external factors, secret techniques had the greatest impact on one's strength. It was even more important than a weapon. A God-tier secret technique and an ordinary secret technique would cause 2 transcendents who were on the same level in other aspects to have a difference in strength of 10 times. They could be killed in a single move. From this, one could see how precious secret techniques were. Even if Dongbua Shuiying couldn't obtain a God-tier secret technique, he still wanted to choose one that was close to it. This way, the gap between him and the Temple of the Earth God, Bloodshed Tavern, and demonic faction would be as small as possible. Of course, secret techniques also needed to be studied. If one obtained a God-tier secret technique, they would only be at the entry level. For a weaker secret technique, others would have already cultivated it to an unimaginable level, completely suppressing those who cultivated a God-tier secret technique. But for the same person, the stronger the secret technique, the better. Returning to his hometown, the update was a bit late. Chapter 101. Inside the Water Taoist Faction. Shui Ying and Gong Liang Yuan walked side by side until they arrived outside a large pavilion. Outside the pavilion was a lake, and by the side of the lake, there was a bald-headed, wizened old man fishing. This old man emitted an ancient aura. "This is Vice Faction Head Chao Qing." Gong Liang Yuan's expression changed and immediately transmitted, "I was preparing to wait for you to choose your weapon and secret technique before meeting the Vice Faction Head. I didn't expect to meet him here. The Vice Faction Head is already 2,860 years old, and is very close to the end of his lifespan." "It's him?" Dongbo Shuiying was filled with respect. Demigod ranking number 9, Chao Qing, Water Taoist Faction's Vice Faction Head. Grasps the Thunder God's true meaning. A demigod's lifespan is only 3,000 years, and the limit represents the limit. Under normal circumstances, they would not be able to live to that limit. Mortals usually have a lifespan of 100 years, but in reality, living to 80 or 90 years is already not bad. For example, a star realm's lifespan is 200 years. But normally, living to 180 years is already very impressive. Transcendents are slightly more powerful and can reach the limit. Elder Lei Jin treated the stone of Oceanic World's spiritual liquid as if it was food and water, constantly nourishing his soul and body, allowing him to live to 1,500 years old. Without the stone of Oceanic World's spiritual liquid, his lifespan would be shortened by 100 years. A demigod would normally be able to live to 2,900 years old, and if they were heavily injured in a battle, they might die even earlier. Thus, Vice Faction Head Chao Qing could die at any moment. Vice Faction Head. Gong Liang Yuan said respectfully, "This is Dongbo Shuiying." "Greetings, Vice Faction Head." Dongbo Shuiying also bowed respectfully. Only then did the bald, skinny old man turn his head. His eyes looked turbid and the skin on his face was full of wrinkles. His body was already very old, but no one in the world dared to look down on him. After all, this old man had not fought for too long and no one knew his true strength. The demigod ranking number 9 was determined based on his last battle. "All right." The bald, skinny old man smiled and nodded. "This old man is able to see another monstrous genius from our Water Taoist faction before the end of my lifespan. I'm really happy. I still remember that when I was a legend ranker, I was also full of metal. When I joined the Water Taoist faction, it was Big Brother Zhang Chen who led me there. But in the blink of an eye, Big Brother Zhang Chen has already been dead for more than 2,000 years. Life and death. This old man has seen too many deaths." The bald, skinny old man chuckled. "There aren't many who can live longer than me." Dongbo Shuiying and Gong Liang Yuan listened obediently. To the 28-year-old Dongbo Shuiying, a demigod who had lived for close to 3,000 years was practically a living piece of history. "Dongbo Shuiying." The bald old man suddenly said. "This junior is here." Dongbo Shuiying replied respectfully. "You are a newly advanced transcendent. You will definitely have to make a trip to the infernal world." The bald, skinny old man continued, "Sky realm transcendents will experience the cruelty of transcendents fighting in the infernal world. Many transcendents will die there. To a monstrous genius like you, you have to be careful when you are still weak. Don't die in the infernal world at such a young age." "This junior understands," Dongbo Shuiying said gratefully. He was very clear about it. Because Sky Realm transcendents were forbidden from entering other transcendent worlds to adventure. In the mortal world they would not meet with any danger. Most of the danger would be in the infernal world. For the sake of training, for the sake of life and death experiences, Sky Realm transcendents would often die. It wasn't that the transcendents were courting death. Rather, the effects of life and death experiences were good. For example, when Dongbo Shuiying fought with the Shadow Leopard, he immediately broke through to the realm of power as one. On the path of transcendence, cultivation was even harder. If one did not go through life and death experiences, it would be hard to walk far. Cultivating for 10 years through life and death experiences was much better than cultivating for 100 years. The moment one enters the infernal world, there will be a transcendent battle of life and death, specially prepared for new transcendents. This is something only new transcendents can participate in. The bald, skinny old man smiled. "This battle of life and death is watched by many Xia people experts, so it is relatively safe. Ever since the establishment of the infernal world, the transcendent battle of life and death has been held for countless years. The most powerful person in history was a demigod from 19 million years ago, Purgatory Knight, Jieli. When he first became a transcendent, he had passed through a total of 11 battles. In the recent 10,000 years, the most powerful person was a girl called Dan Qingyan. She had passed through 9 battles. Unfortunately, after she became a saint, she entered the transcendent world to adventure and died. Back then, I had also passed through 6 battles. The bald, skinny old man looked at Dongbo Shuiying. Dongbo Shuiying, you have to win some glory for our water Taoist faction. Go through 9 battles, 10 battles. Dongbo Shuiying muttered to himself. The vice faction head's requirements were really high. 9 battles, 10 battles? After reading Elder Lei Jin's memoirs, Dongbo Shuiying was very clear about the transcendent battle of life and death. This was something only new transcendents could enjoy. In order to let new transcendents have a detailed understanding of the battle, they would arrange for opponents to battle in a fixed area. Most of the opponents would be natives of the transcendent world. During the battle there would be many experts watching and there would also be demigods. Therefore, if there was any danger during the battle of life and death, the demigods would immediately lend a helping hand. Therefore, it was relatively safe, and a rare opportunity to familiarize with the natives of the transcendent world. However, after all, the transcendent battle of life and death was too fast. Sometimes, if a demigod was a step slower, they might not be able to help in time. On average, an unlucky transcendent would die in the transcendent battle of life and death every 200 to 300 years. For example, Elder Lei Jin had only passed through 5 battles. How many battles did Elder Chang Feng pass? Dongbo Shuiying asked curiously. Chiqiu Bai? He also passed through 6 battles. The bald, skinny old man laughed. When Chiqiu Bai was at the Sky Realm, he wasn't too dazzling. Although he had become a transcendent at a young age, he had only grasped the profound mystery of wind of myriad existences, a very ordinary profound mystery. Furthermore, he rose to prominence later on, and actually grasped the heaven-defying, true meaning of space cleavage. The transcendent battle of life and death can also show one's potential. Those who have passed through the battle of life and death, as long as they are alive, most of them would have high achievements. The bald, skinny old man said, however, those who have passed the battle of life and death, although most of them are not good, there would occasionally be those who rose to prominence later on. For example, the current number 1 Mountain Lord He, back then, only managed to pass through 3 battles. Don't learn from Mountain Lord He. Mountain Lord He is a mage and he likes to immerse himself in research. Furthermore, the transcendent battle of life and death is the only safe chance for you to familiarize yourself with the natives of the transcendent world. You must grasp this opportunity well. The bald, skinny old man said, if you miss it, there won't be any more. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. Junior understands. Go choose your weapon. There's no need to accompany this old man. The bald, skinny old man said, oh right, I can see that you should have awakened your primordial bloodline. When you are going to choose your secret technique, you can go to the innermost bookshelf on the 3rd floor of the Secret Techniques Pavilion and carefully flip through it. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes lit up. Secret Techniques Pavilion, 3rd floor? The innermost bookshelf? Thank you, Vice Head. Dongbo Shuiying respectfully said. The bald, skinny old man continued to squint his eyes, seemingly closing them but not closing them at the same time. Dongbo Shuiying and Gong Yuan respectfully bowed and left. Brother Dongbo, the vice faction head really thinks highly of you. Gong Liang Yuan laughed in a low voice. Actually, we were discussing about you previously. We even placed a bet on how many rounds you could pass in the transcendent battle of life and death. We all felt that you could pass at least 6 rounds. I'm not confident myself. Dongbo Shuiying casually replied. In his heart, he was worried about the 3rd floor of the Secret Techniques Pavilion that the vice head mentioned. What exactly was the vice head talking about? Chapter 102. The two of them walked to the front of the weapon pavilion. Go in and choose, I'll wait for you here. Gong Liang Yuan stood outside the door. All right. Dongbo Shuiying walked in. Just like the Doqi pavilion from before, this huge pavilion that contained all the weapons had no guards. The reason why there was no guard was because the entire Water Taoist temple was a demigod weapon. The weapon spirits, Senior Dragon, and Senior Sparrow, could completely control this place. No one would be able to sneak away or forcefully take away the weapons. Weapons are an extension of one's limbs. They are the most important companions in battle. Dongbo Shuiying was very clear that a good weapon and a bad weapon would have a huge impact on one's strength. Dongbo Shuiying walked briskly. Very quickly he arrived at the area where the spears were placed. Lightning Rush Spear, Mortal Low Grade, 500 Origin Stones to exchange. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the green spear that was stabbed into the ground. There was a metal plate on the ground with a simple introduction. He casually picked it up and played with it. Wuxia. With a swing of the spear it slashed through the air. Following that he stabbed with one hand. The spear spun and tore through the air, but it was unable to damage the ordinary-looking building. Mortal Low Grade, it's the worst type of transcendent weapon. I feel that it's not even as perfect as my Fei Shui God Spear in terms of power transfer. It's just that it's made of transcendent materials, it's so lousy. Dongbo Shuiying secretly shook his head. This was probably the work of a transcendent who failed while trying to refine a weapon. Transcendent weapons were not necessarily better than mortal weapons. Even a peak grade 3 alchemist weapon would cost more than 1,000,000 gold coins. In terms of price, it was not any less than a mortal low-grade transcendent weapon. To mortals it was far more practical. Even a newly advanced transcendent would not bother with a mortal low-grade weapon. This was a failed attempt. Most of them would get a mortal high-grade weapon. Being able to get a mortal high-grade weapon was already very extravagant. As he walked, he picked up a spear and experimented. And the power transfer is perfect, just that the spear shaft is slightly soft. Dongbo Shuiying's current physical strength had reached the middle phase of the sky rank, and the Fei Shui God Spear was also slightly soft to him. This spear, TSK, it's a bit too long. It's not very suitable. Dongbo Shuiying had been practicing spear arts for more than 20 years. If it was said that some women love jewelry, then he would also be very excited when he held a spear. He could feel the uniqueness of each spear. For so many years, he had never tried so many good spears to his heart's content. For a full hour he mainly checked the human tier top-grade spears. Mortal tier long spears usually cost between 5 to 10 kilograms of origin stones. The Water Taoist faction allowed me to pick any weapon or treasure that didn't exceed 80 kilograms of origin stones. That should be enough for me to gather a full set of mortal tier top-tier treasures. Dongbo Shuiying muttered to himself. Clothes, armor, boots, weapons, storage bracelets, etc. A full set of mortal tier top-quality equipment would cost 80 kilograms of origin stones. However, if I'm going to make one, I'll make one of the better ones. Dongbo Shuiying's gaze landed on the Saint-tier weapons. Saint-tier low-grade weapons were usually priced around 50 kilograms of origin stones. Although the price had skyrocketed, there was still a qualitative difference between a mortal tier transcendent weapon and a Saint-tier transcendent weapon. Mortal tier top-quality weapons and Saint-tier low-grade weapons. The difference in strength could be 30 to 40%. For a new transcendent like me, a Saint-tier low-grade weapon is more than enough. Dongbo Shuiying made his decision. He already had a bracelet of holding. The inner armor was a Saint-tier top-quality inner armor left behind by Elder Lei Zhen. After all, he had grasped the profound mystery of the water of myriad creations. Therefore, as for clothes, since he already had a good inner armor, any mortal tier top-quality clothes would suffice. As for the spear and boots, Dongbo Shuiying felt that he should choose a good one. A moment later, a spear was picked by Dongbo Shuiying. Boom! It was a black spear. The body of the spear seemed to be made out of a special type of transcendent wood. There were even dark red patterns on the wood. If one were to sense it carefully, one would be able to hear the faint roar of a dragon. A casual swing of the spear would produce a thunderous sound. Black dragon spear, dragon blood watering? Dongbo Shuiying grinned. This spear weighs around 600 kilograms. It is more suitable for my spear arts. Some spears looked blurry to the naked eye. When used, they were like phantoms. Some spears were suitable for thrusting with extreme speed. Dongbo Shuiying had been tempted by other spears before. But now that he had grasped the profound mystery of the water and fire of myriad creations, he faintly felt that his path was the path of yin and yang. Going to the extremes might produce a miraculous effect when facing an opponent of the same level. But when facing an extremely powerful enemy, going to the extremes would mean that one's other aspects would be lacking. If one couldn't kill the enemy, it would be easy for the enemy to kill him. The name is indeed evil and domineering. However, this spear is indeed very good. Dongbo Shuiying casually swung the spear and the spear shaft spun and stabbed out. The resulting shockwave slammed into the walls of the pavilion. Ripples appeared on the surface of the walls, easily dissipating the impact. After all, those who came to choose a weapon would usually give it a try. But it cost 60 kilograms of origin stones? Dongbo Shuiying looked at the price tag. This Saint-tier low-grade spear had already exceeded the free price that the Water Taoist faction had set for him. Let's choose another pair of boots. Dongbo Shuiying placed great importance on boots. Some transcendents might use leg techniques during battle, but Dongbo Shuiying placed great importance on flexibility. In close combat, flexibility was extremely important. Those with low flexibility would be forced into a passive position. As for those with high flexibility, they would be able to toy with their opponents in the palm of their hands. Even if they encountered an enemy, they would have a higher chance of escaping. I'll choose this. The dark blue leather boots were made from the skin of a transcendent beast and some metals. There were very dark inscriptions on the boots, and the power of the wind could not be seen unless one looked closely. Fluttering boots. Dongbo Shuiying put on the boots and tried them out. A formless flow of energy could be felt in the surroundings. The high-speed air flow generated by his footsteps would be guided, greatly reducing the air resistance. For transcendents, their movements were extremely fast, and the air resistance generated by their every movement was very shocking. For example, the high-pressure waves generated by a casual thrust of a spear or a whip were actually air resistance. When the air resistance was reduced, the speed and agility would naturally increase. Awesome. Dongbo Shuiying revealed a joyful expression. After choosing the Saint-tier low-grade black dragon spear and the fluttering boots, Dongbo Shuiying chose a mortal-tier black robe, which also had the effect of reducing air resistance. After all, in terms of defense, the Saint-tier inner armor was too powerful. Good, I have enough. Dongbo Shuiying revealed a joyful expression. Senior Dragon, Senior Sparrow, I have already chosen these three. Dongbo Shuiying said. Brat, the Water Taoist faction can only give you 80 kilograms of origin stones for free, but these three items add up to 136 kilograms of origin stones. Senior Sparrow's clear voice resounded in the pavilion. Although you have origin stones, you should still use them to cultivate your battle chi. Battle chi is the foundation, don't waste too much on external items. Although they can obviously increase your strength, they will not help you at all when you step into the Saint realm. I understand. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. He had more than 3,000 kilograms of origin stones. The Water Taoist faction had given him another 600 kilograms, so he was very confident. Senior Sparrow, how much can this long rod be worth? Dongbo Shuiying flipped his hand, and a scarlet long rod appeared in his hand. This was the Saint-tier low-grade long rod left behind by Elder Lei Zhen. Since he had no use for it, he might as well sell it to the Water Taoist faction. Buying weapons within one's own organization was the cheapest, and selling weapons was also the most worthwhile. Oh! A formless ripple swept past the scarlet long rod. This Saint-tier low-grade weapon, haha, I'll take it as 50 kilograms of origin stones. Senior Sparrow said, looks like you had some fortuitous encounters. Including this long rod, you still need 26 kilograms of origin stones. Alright, for every transcendent who breaks through, the Water Taoist faction will give you 50 contribution points. Each contribution point is equivalent to 1 kilogram of origin stones. Dongbo Shuiying nodded. Of course he knew. The 50 contribution points given by the Water Taoist faction were normally used to exchange for weapons and secret techniques. Furthermore, such a small amount of contribution points could not be exchanged for anything too good. I'll add another 6 kilograms of origin stones, right? Dongbo Shuiying was in a good mood as he took out 6 kilograms of origin stones and placed it on the shelf beside him. Oh. The origin stone and the scarlet rod that he had taken out disappeared without a trace. Walking out of the weapon pavilion, Dongbo Shuiying was fully equipped with transcendent items. Even the worst robe he was wearing was at the peak grade transcendent mortal tier, while the rest were at the Saint tier low grade or even Saint tier top grade. Compared to other transcendents of the same level, I'm definitely not at a disadvantage in terms of weapons. In fact, I might even have an advantage. Dongbo Shuiying revealed a smile. Brother Dongbo, you seem to be in a good mood. Gong Liang Yuan said. I've stayed in there for a while longer. I'm ashamed. Dongbo Shuiying hurriedly said. Choosing a weapon is a must. What's 1 to 4 hours to us transcendents? Let's go and choose a secret technique. Gong Liang Yuan said. Everyone remember to vote for me. Everyone gets one every day. Chapter 103. As the sky gradually darkened, many places within the Water Taoist faction were lit up. Within the Secret Arts Pavilion, Dongbo Shuiying went straight to the 3rd floor. The first floor contained low-rank secret arts, the second floor contained middle-rank secret arts, and the third floor contained high-rank secret arts and transcendent secret arts. Although the legend said that there were better, god-tier secret arts, only the Temple of the Earth God, Bloodshed Tavern, and Demonic Faction had them. Secret arts are indeed important. Dongbo Shuiying flipped through some of the secret arts and understood their importance. Do-Chi techniques only focused on cultivating Do-Chi. Secret arts, on the other hand, focused on the usage of Do-Chi. Just like a piece of paper, if it was rolled up and used as a rope, it would only be able to lift a few gene-heavy objects. Any heavier and the paper would break. But if the paper was cut into hundreds of pieces and tied together like a braid, it would be able to lift tens of gene or even hundreds of gene. The same materials but different combinations could have completely different levels of endurance. Secret arts allow the exquisite combination of Do-Chi. Dongbo Shuiying picked up a book on secret arts and looked at the introduction. Some secret arts can greatly increase the effectiveness of Do-Chi during defense. Some can greatly increase one's attack power. Some can move more flexibly, consuming the same amount of Do-Chi, but with the exquisite combination of Do-Chi, one's attack power will greatly increase. Transcendents could train in multiple secret arts at the same time. They could switch between them during battle. Looking at the various top-grade secret arts, Dongbo Shuiying felt envious. It's getting late. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the sky. Although there were many places in the Water Taoist faction that were still lit up, he estimated that it was already late at night. He was too engrossed in reading the introductions of the secret arts. Unlike weapons that could be casually played with, looking at the introductions of the secret arts, unknowingly time passed. Right, the vice head mentioned the innermost bookshelf on the third floor. Dongbo Shuiying quickly walked to the innermost bookshelf and started searching. Previously, the vice head could tell that I had awakened the primordial bloodline with a single glance and asked me to search for it. Could it be related to the primordial bloodline? Dongbo Shuiying was taken aback. He picked up a golden leaf book called Radiant Scroll and read the introduction in it. It's a manual for body cultivation? I didn't expect the Water Taoist faction to have a body training technique. Dongbo Shuiying continued to look through the books carefully. Very quickly he found another book on the same shelf, which also cultivated the body, Devil Dragon Arts. The Scroll of Light and the Magic Dragon Art were actually sent back by the founder of the Water Taoist faction, the Water Sovereign. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the introduction with admiration. The Water Emperor was the founder of the Water Taoist Temple. He was an ancestor of the Xia people who ascended to godhood over 8 million years ago. After becoming a god and entering the god world, he still remembered his hometown. He thought of a way to send back some Qi secret arts and body cultivation methods. Actually, many supreme secret techniques were sent back by the ancestors of the Xia people from the immortal realm. The Transcendents could not create such powerful secret techniques. As for god-tier secret techniques, throughout the history of the Xia people, there were so many ancestors who entered the god world, but none of them had ever sent back a god-tier secret technique. The Temple of the Earth God, Bloodshed Tavern, and Demonic Faction all had terrifying existences behind them. Only then would they have god-tier secret techniques. It's actually a body cultivation method. Dongbo Shuiying was very excited. Compared to Qi secret arts, body cultivation methods were few and far between. Under the heavens, the most famous body cultivation methods were the Demonic Faction and the Temple of the Earth God. Maybe my hope for the second awakening of my primordial bloodline lies in these methods. Dongbo Shuiying flipped through the two manuals. The second awakening of the primordial bloodline was extremely difficult. There were two ways to awaken it. The first was the body cultivation method. By absorbing the energy of the heavens and earth, one's body would become stronger and stronger. The chances of the second awakening would also increase. According to the records of the Xia people, as long as one awakened the primordial bloodline, when their body reached the peak of the saint stage, they would definitely be able to undergo the second awakening. Of course, once one's body reached the middle stage of the saint stage, the chances of an awakening would be very high. The second method depended on luck. Perhaps during a life and death battle, one would suddenly undergo the second awakening. There were two methods. To rely on luck to undergo the second awakening, the chances were too low. In the countless years of the Xia people's history, not a single one had ever done so. On the contrary, the demonic beast clan had such a lucky one. Relying on luck is not reliable. It's still better to cultivate the body cultivation method. Dongbo Shuiying thought to himself. There was a huge difference between body cultivation and Qi cultivation. When one's body improved, the amount of energy required for each breakthrough would increase exponentially. It was much more than the amount of energy required for qi cultivation. The moment a primordial bloodline awakener stepped into the transcendent realm, their body would reach the middle stage of the sky realm. From the middle stage to the peak stage of the sky realm, it would require 1,000 kilograms of origin stones. This was even more than the amount of qi cultivation from the initial stage of the sky realm to the initial stage of the saint stage. Just like this time, when Dongbua Shuiying was invited by the Water Taoist faction, they only gave him 600 kilograms of origin stones. From the peak stage of the sky realm to the initial stage of the saint stage, it would require 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. It was even more than the amount of origin stones required for qi cultivation to step into the demigod realm. From the middle stage of the saint realm, it would require around 2 million kilograms of origin stones. It was a number that would cause even demigods to tremble. Most demigods would not be able to gather so many origin stones in their entire lives. From the middle stage of the saint realm to the peak stage, that was an unimaginable amount. In the words of the deity realm, even if all the origin stones in the material world were dug out, it would not be enough. Thus, when one's body evolves to the peak stage of the saint realm, one's primordial bloodline will definitely undergo the second awakening, was a beautiful wish. The stronger the body, the higher the chances of a second awakening. I have quite a lot of origin stones now. Taking out 500 kilograms of origin stones to raise my body to the peak stage of the sky realm is worth it. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. In the future, when his strength increases and he has more origin stones, he will take out 50,000 kilograms of origin stones to raise his body to the primary stage of the saint realm. At that time, the chances of an awakening would be even higher. As for the middle stage of the saint realm, that was too far away. Radiant Scroll and Magic Dragon Technique, which one should I choose? Dongbua Shuiying looked at the two body cultivation methods in front of him. Qi secret techniques could be cultivated in many different ways. But body cultivation was completely different. Every body cultivation method would come with a secret technique, and one could only cultivate one secret technique. Magic Dragon Technique came with the secret technique Magic Dragon Strength. Magic Dragon Strength was a secret technique that could change the most minute structure of muscles and bones. Just like mortals. Similarly, weak mortals, some were born with great speed while others were born with great strength. This was the natural difference between muscles and bones. They were all level 6 demonic beasts, but some were extremely fast while others were extremely strong. Magic Dragon Strength was a secret technique developed from dissecting a powerful magic dragon's body in the deity realm. It was the most compatible with Magic Dragon Technique. It could increase the toughness of muscles and bones, and the explosive power would also be stronger. Magic Dragon Strength Secret Technique was divided into 5 layers. The first layer could increase one's strength by 20%. Normal transcendents would be able to understand it after some training. The second layer could increase one's strength by 50%. The requirement for one's comprehension was relatively high. The third layer could double one's strength. It was rare to cultivate to this step. Even among the Saint Realm experts, there were only a few who could cultivate it. The fourth layer could triple one's strength. Demigods who cultivated this body technique would usually only reach the fourth layer of the Magic Dragon Strength. The fifth layer could increase one's strength by 6 times. Large success. It was extremely difficult. This secret technique is really powerful. Dongbua Shuiying looked at it with longing. A secret technique at the large success level could increase one's strength by 6 times. And this is only considered a transcendent secret technique. What did 6 times the strength mean? Even with the power bloodline activated, one's physical strength would only double. But the Magic Dragon Strength was an evolution of the body's minute structure. Using physical strength normally, one's strength could increase by 6 times. How miraculous was that? Of course, Dongbua Shuiying was only a newly advanced transcendent. It was already not bad for him to be able to master this secret technique Magic Dragon Strength. Magic Dragon Technique was paired with the secret technique Magic Dragon Strength. After cultivating, one's strength would increase the most. Radiant Scroll was paired with Radiant Glass Body. After cultivating, one's speed would increase. The increase in speed would also be very terrifying. One must know that experts with the primordial bloodline had a very high recovery rate. As they cultivated, their bodies would get closer to the undying body, or even become undying. This was also the reason why many demigods were still willing to cultivate the body technique even though they knew that the chances of a second bloodline awakening was very slim. There were even transcendents who had not awakened their primordial bloodline but still tried to cultivate it. I'll choose the magic dragon technique. Dongbo Shuang thought for a while and made his decision. The reason why he chose the magic dragon technique was because the secret technique magic dragon strength contained many profound mysteries related to fire. The radiant glass body contained the profound mysteries of light. Dongbo Shuang had already comprehended the profound mysteries of fire and water. Naturally, he would choose the one that was suitable for him. Secondly, it was because it could increase one's strength. It was also more suitable for him to use it together with his innate talent, the power burst. Thirdly, it was because his primordial bloodline was the power bloodline. If he chose the path of power, his chances of awakening the second time would be higher. Senior Dragon, Senior Sparrow, I have already made my choice. I will only choose the magic dragon technique. Dongbo Shuang said. Not choosing the battle chi secret technique? Senior Dragon's deep voice sounded. Not for the time being. Dongbo Shuang smiled. The magic dragon technique could be exchanged in 2 parts. However, since he had the chance to choose once for free, Dongbo Shuang naturally wanted to get the whole book. As for the battle chi secret technique? Right now his battle chi was only at the sky initial phase. Even if he were to study the secret technique, it would not be able to compare to his physical strength in a short period of time. After all, his energy was limited. It would not be too late to cultivate the secret technique after his battle chi cultivation caught up to his physical strength. After all, this secret technique was easier to cultivate the higher one's realm was. Everything is done. Battle chi secret technique, weapon, secret technique, everything is in my hands. Dongbo Shuang walked out of the secret technique pavilion. The sky was still dark and there was a crescent moon in the sky. It is time to go to the infernal realm. All newly advanced transcendents had to go to the infernal realm as soon as possible. Chapter 104. That is the gate of the world, which leads to the Xia capital of the infernal realm. Gong Liang Yuan said. At the top of an icy mountain within the Water Taoist faction, there was a gate that was emitting ripples in the air. Come, let us enter. Yes. Dongbo Shuang was also filled with anticipation. He knew what was in the infernal realm, and was naturally filled with anticipation. Woohoo! The two of them flew side by side into the gate of the world. The moment they passed through, they felt as though their bodies were submerged in water. The feeling of stagnation only lasted for a moment, and with a piu sound, they arrived at the other end of the gate of the world. Dongbo Shuang looked on in shock. At this moment he was standing beside the gate of the world on a tall mountain. Although it was night time, the moonlight shone down on this world. In front of him was a majestic and domineering city. Within the city, there were 9 main roads that extended outwards, as though they were 9 mystical dragons. Beside the roads, there were mansions of various sizes, arranged in picturesque disorder. In the center of the entire city there was a majestic palace. The palace was constantly emitting an endless amount of power, with a misty fiery glow. In the dark of the night, this palace was the most dazzling. Xia capital. Dongbo Shuang muttered. Yes, this is the Xia capital. It is the true capital of the entire Xia people. Gong Liang Yuan's eyes were filled with passion. Over the generations we, the Xia people, have met with many dangers. For example, the birth of a deity from the beast clan, the invasion of the demons, and even the invasion of the alien races. But because of the Xia capital and the infernal realm, we, the Xia people, have always been able to prosper. Gong Liang Yuan pointed to the majestic palace that was emitting a misty fiery glow. The palace in the center of the capital is the Infernal Palace. The reason why it is named Infernal Palace is because it has the meaning of passing on the torch. How many times has the material world outside turned into ruins? The mortals were almost wiped out, and the vitality of the Xia people was greatly damaged? But even if we are temporarily defeated, we still have the infernal realm. There are billions of mortals living in the infernal realm. Furthermore, the Xia capital has left behind almost all of the important inheritances of the Xia people. When the war is unwinnable, the transcendents will retreat to the infernal realm. Gong Liang Yuan said. We will wait for the right time to reclaim our world. Dongbo Shuang nodded. The power of a god transcended all extraordinary powers. When the magical beast clan gave birth to a divine spirit, the entire Xia people could not resist at all. The 6 great transcendent organizations did not hesitate to move their headquarters into the infernal world. He had to try his best to preserve his vitality. The infernal world was a large transcendent world. Deities could not enter it. In the beginning, the demonic beast race wantonly destroyed, almost slaughtering all the mortals in the world. Magical beasts multiplied and covered almost all the land and oceans. But in the end, the gods were expelled from the world. The Xia people would kill their way back. The Xia people had a deeper foundation. In a situation where there were no deities, they could completely crush the magical beast clan. The enmity between both sides grew deeper and deeper. When the Xia people gave birth to a divine spirit, they would often slaughter the magical beast clan. Occasionally, both sides would negotiate. For example, when the humans were at a disadvantage, they would try to move as many mortals as possible into the infernal realm. The magical beast clan, the demons of the dark abyss, the races of the other worlds. Gong Liang Yuan said. There are many dangers, but we built the infernal realm to be impregnable, allowing us to hold on until now. Many of the laws of the Xia people were set by the Xia capital. In the imperial city of the outside world. It was just for show. The Dragon Mountain Manor, the Empire's army, etc. were all directly controlled by the Xia capital. Otherwise, why would the Empire's army have so many transcendents? Dongbua Shuiying and Gong Liang Yuan flew side by side. This Xia capital had been built and perfected over the years. Many terrifying arrays were stacked on top of each other. In terms of stability, it was countless times stronger than the array beneath the Black Wind Abyss. One had to know that this place had experienced the invasion of all sorts of demigods from other races. Those demigods who dared to invade this place were all armed with powerful deity weapons. However, the Xia people had been here for a long time. No matter who dared to invade this place, the only ending for them was defeat and escape. The Xia capital is a place where many legend rankers train. Gong Liang Yuan pointed to the countless mansions below. There are also many transcendents. Practically all the sky realm transcendents are here. Even saints and demigods have mansions here. Occasionally they would come to the Xia capital. Then why are there still the headquarters of the 6 great transcendent organizations in the outside world? Dongbua Shuiying was puzzled. This Xia capital could become a gathering place for all the transcendents. It's to protect the mortal world. Gong Liang Yuan said. The mortal world outside is the most stable and perfect. It can nurture countless mortals and is the foundation of the Xia people. It is also the place where the ancestors of the Xia people lived. The headquarters of the 6 great transcendent organizations oversee the world. The moment they discover the demons of the dark abyss, the races of the other planes, etc., they must be exterminated immediately. Understood. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. The infernal world was much safer. The mortal world was very safe when there were no disturbances. However, the moment there was a huge disturbance, it would be very terrifying. The historical records of the invasion of the Dark Abyss had caused incomparably terrifying destruction and destruction. There had to be transcendents standing guard at all times, ready to respond at any time. So, the two of them flew. Very quickly, under Gong Liang Yuan's lead, they landed in front of one of the many mansions. The door of the mansion was already opened. Guards stood at the entrance, while rows of servants and maids stood inside. These servants and maids had already been waiting for almost a day. This is your future master, Master Dongbua? Gong Liang Yuan said directly. Greetings, Master. Over 1,000 people knelt down in an orderly manner. They were incomparably respectful. This is. Dongbua Shuiying was surprised. This is your mansion, Dongbua. Gong Liang Yuan laughed. If you are not satisfied, you can change to another mansion. However, I guess you should be very satisfied. The mansions of the other 9 transcendents in the Tranquil Sun province are all around your mansion. Dongbua Shuiying looked at his surroundings in surprise. All around? Look, that mansion belongs to Elder Changfeng Qiu Qibai. The mansion next to it belongs to Elder Devil Blade Peng Shan. Gong Liang Yuan introduced. In order to welcome you, the 9 transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province are currently in the Xia capital. Ah. Dongbua Shuiying was moved. The 9 transcendents were all here, but he had stayed at home for a month. He felt ashamed. However, he could feel that the transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were very united. As for the guards, maids in your mansion, haha, every mansion has them. Even the mansion of a legend ranker has over 100 servants. After all, they are here for life and death training. Naturally, there are servants to take care of the trivial matters. Gong Liang Yuan said. Do they get paid? Dongbua Shuiying was once a lord. He immediately asked. When Gong Liang Yuan heard Dongbua Shuiying ask this, he could not help but laugh. Don't worry, they are all paid by the Infernal Palace. Actually, countless mortals are willing to serve the Transcendents. The salary is secondary. The more important thing is the opportunity to learn spells and obtain powerful dochi techniques. High-grade dochi techniques and even top-grade dochi techniques are all possible. Dongbo Shuang blinked his eyes. His 3-stage flame technique was only a middle-grade technique. Alright, you can go in and rest. My mission is considered complete after sending you here. Gong Liang Yuan said. This time I have troubled Elder Gong Liang. Elder Gong Liang, do you want to come in and have a seat? Dongbo Shuang said. Gong Liang Yuan said, tomorrow, Elder Chang Feng and the rest of the Tranquil Sun Province will definitely welcome you. The sky is already bright. You should take a good rest. You still have a lot of things to do. Dongbo Shuang was startled. He nodded his head and did not insist. He really had a lot of things to do. He would have to deal with some of his transcendents. Especially for the upcoming transcendent battle of life and death, he had to make preparations. Chapter 105. After sending Gong Liang Yuan off, Dongbo Shuang entered his own mansion. The mansion was luxurious. There were more servants and maids than in Snowrock Castle. A lady dressed in white said respectfully, Master, I am Su Qin, the housekeeper of Master's mansion. If Master needs anything, please let me know. Female housekeeper? Dongbo Shuang looked at the female housekeeper. She was pretty and had a great figure. She could be considered a stunner. Judging from her aura, this female housekeeper should be a meteor mage. Such a stunning young meteor mage. If she was in the mortal world, she would be pursued by countless men. But now she was a housekeeper for a transcendent. This made Dongbo Shuang grumble to himself. Most of the maids in the mansion did not cultivate do-chi or magic power, but their figures and looks were considered good. There were a few that were close to being a housekeeper. Their figures and looks were even better than Kong Yuyu. But because they did not cultivate do-chi or magic power, their temperament was much worse. So many beauties? The Infernal Palace is really considerate of the Transcendents. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself. He then instructed, Su Qin explain the layout of the mansion. Yes. Su Qin looked at Dongbo Shuang, her heart was filled with joy. She was appointed as a housekeeper for a transcendent by the Infernal Palace. She was originally very uneasy. After all, in front of a transcendent, mortals were helpless. Most of the housekeepers of transcendents would naturally become transcendent women. Su Qin could not resist and could only accept it. But ever since she came to this mansion, she heard that her master was an extremely young demon. He was a transcendent at the age of 28. Becoming a transcendent at the age of 28? Su Qin heaved a sigh of relief. At least he wouldn't be an old man anymore. When Dongbo Shuang and Gong Liang Yuan landed in front of the mansion, Su Qin took a good look at her master. He was very young. His temperament was extraordinary. Although he was not very handsome, he was very pleasing to look at. Su Qin's heart was filled with sweetness. Master, these are the residences of the guards outside. Su Qin and Dongbo Shuang walked around the mansion. There were 2 maids following behind them. These are the residences of the maids. They walked to the center of the mansion. This is where Master lives. There's a guest hall, a cultivation area, and so on. The maids all live in the surroundings. I live in Master's side hall and can listen to Master's orders. Su Qin explained in detail. Her voice was gentle. It was clear that she had gone through some basic training in the Infernal Palace. Her voice was soft. Shuang was impressed. The housekeeper and the group of maids seemed to be in good order. If this was in the mortal world outside, perhaps only those 1,000-year-old clans would be able to cultivate so many outstanding maids. Those female attendants and servants within the castle of his Dongbo clan were too ordinary. Many of them were like the daughters of farmers. Alright, all of you can leave now. Dongbo Shuang instructed and prepared to go rest. Through the energy of heaven and earth, he had already understood the layout of the mansion. Previously he wasn't sure. What was the purpose of each place? Now he understood. Yes. Housekeeper Su Qin and the maids replied respectfully before retreating. When Su Qin left, a smile appeared on her face. Although this transcendent didn't seem to care about her, they would naturally develop feelings for each other after spending so much time together. This was the first time they met. She was quite satisfied with this transcendent master of hers. The next morning, Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi sent someone to deliver an invitation. He invited him to attend a banquet at noon at Qiu Bai's mansion. The other transcendents of Tranquil Sun Province would be there. Noon of the same day, Dongbua Shuiying walked out of his mansion. With another step, his figure appeared at the entrance of Qiu Bai's mansion. The guards at the entrance were not surprised at the sudden appearance of the black-robed young man. As the guards of Eternal Wind Knight's mansion, they often saw transcendence. The speed of transcendence was beyond their imagination. "Lord Dongbua, please." Immediately, a guard led the way. The guard led the way followed by the maids. Arriving at the main hall, there were already 6 transcendents seated inside. They were all seated on the floor with a table in front of them. This was the way the Xia people ate in ancient times. In the mortal world, only a few of the more particular clans would still eat like this. For example, Dongbua Shuiying's parents were adventurers in the past, so they didn't pay much attention to it. They would sit at the same table when they ate. As for transcendents, they had long lifespans and preferred the ancient way of eating. Furthermore, they would naturally be wary of other transcendents. Sitting together for a meal would cause them to be nervous. Sitting separately would make them feel more at ease. Snow Eagle is here. The one sitting at the head of the table was Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Bai. Currently, Qiu Bai had snow-white hair and was drinking wine. He looked rather carefree and unrestrained, but there was always an indescribable sadness in his expression. "Big brother Eternal Wind." Dongbua Shuiying bowed, then looked at the other 5 transcendents. "Greetings, big brother and big sister." "Big sister?" The only female transcendent present laughed. "Snow Eagle is a newly advanced transcendent, and he is also the youngest amongst us. Is it wrong to call him big brother and big sister?" Qiu Bai said. On the left of Qiu Bai, a man with a blade on his back laughed. "That's right. However, this is the first time that little sister Ling Shu is being called big sister." Dongbua Shuiying slightly paid attention to the man with the blade on his back. One must know that all transcendents had storage treasures. Normally, weapons would be kept in the storage treasure, and with a single thought, it would appear in the hands of the transcendents, and the speed would be much faster than pulling it out from the back. Hence, it was rare to see someone carrying a weapon on his back. As for the so-called familiarity with the weapon, almost all transcendents had reached power as one perfection, and there was no need for them to carry a weapon on them at all times. Usually, those who carried a weapon on their back, other than having a special hobby, would have a special, secret technique. "My name is Cheng Ling Shu. Next time you can just call me Sister Ling Shu. Calling me Big Sister feels weird," the female transcendent said. Her looks could only be considered average, but her personality was rather straightforward. "Sister Ling Shu." Dongbua Shuiying immediately shouted. Cheng Ling Shu instantly smiled brightly. "Snow Eagle, sit down first. Let me introduce to you. In a while there will be 3 more coming and they are all from our Tranquil Sun Province." Qiu Bai said, "We are all from the same province, so naturally we have to help each other. We are from the same transcendent organization, and we are from the same province. If we don't help each other, who will help you?" "And?" Dongbua Shuiying nodded. He could feel the cordial atmosphere between everyone, and the leader of this group was Qiu Bai. Dongbua Shuiying felt that Qiu Bai was the kind of person who was born with the temperament of a leader, and people were willing to stand beside him. Very soon, the other 3 transcendents arrived one after another. The 10 transcendents of Tranquil Sun Province were gathered here. They were Qiu Bai, Pingshan, Dongbua Shuiying, Cheng Ling Shu, Dongyu Wukuei, Zong Tu Ba Ming, Ziche Gufeng and Hai Ruzhen. 3 of them were transcendent mages. There were 8 men and 2 women, and their ages varied. The oldest was Devil Blade Knight Pingshan, and he was already more than 1,100 years old. "Everyone please vote for me." Chapter 106. The 10 transcendents gathered together, drinking and chatting, gradually becoming familiar with each other. Pingshan put down his cup and said with a smile, "Snow Eagle, I'm the oldest here, so I'll say a few words. You have just arrived at the Xia capital. The most important thing is the upcoming transcendent battle of life and death. Haha, you are the youngest person to step into the transcendent realm in 1,000 years. Many people want to see your transcendent battle of life and death. I'm afraid even some demigods who are in seclusion might come." Demigods had long lifespans, so they rarely interfered with the affairs of ordinary transcendents. "That's right. Many people think highly of you. You have to pass at least 6 rounds. Otherwise you will lose face." Zong Tu said hurriedly. "Don't think that 6 rounds is easy. Big Brother Eternal Wind also won 6 rounds back then. Very difficult. Qiu Qibai nodded. Mountain Lord, he only had 3 matches in the past. The main reason was that the Infernal Palace would send out some transcendent world aboriginals towards the end. If they were not careful, they would be defeated. Furthermore, the further I go, the stronger these natives become. I can be considered to be good at fighting, but I still stopped at 6 battles. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Qiu Qibai was indeed famous for his battle prowess. He had constantly made breakthroughs in each and every battle. Back then, the seemingly ordinary profound mystery of wind in myriad existences was able to display a relatively powerful strength. Afterward, he had even grasped the true meaning of space cleavage in one go, and his name had truly shaken the world. Little brother Snow Eagle, don't feel pressured. Try your best. Although during the transcendent battle of life and death, there will be demigods watching and helping at any time. But transcendents fight too quickly and you might lose your life in an instant. Qing Ling Shu advised. Dongbu Shuang started to sweat. Calling him little brother Snow Eagle? However, there was nothing for him to resist. The youngest person in this group was Qing Ling Shu, and she was already over 100 years old. They were even older than his grandparents. Let's do our best. Snow Eagle has awakened his primordial bloodline, so his recovery ability is extremely strong. You won't die so easily. Peng Shan said, moreover, this is a rare opportunity. It's the best opportunity to obtain extraordinary contribution points. You have to grasp it well. Dongbu Shuang replied with a smile. He really wanted to go all out in the transcendent battle of life and death. Firstly, the more dazzling he was, the more attention he would receive from the highest-ranking demigods of the human race. Even if someone wanted to place a bounty on Dongbu Shuang, the bounty offered by the Bloodshed Tavern would be even more shocking. Secondly, it was to sharpen himself. Where else could he find such a low-risk opportunity to fight a transcendent? Thirdly, it was for extraordinary contribution points. 1 contribution point was equivalent to half a kilogram of origin stones. Winning the first round would give him 10 contribution points, the second round would give him 20 contribution points, and the third round would give him 40 contribution points. The number kept increasing. The most powerful person in history had passed the 11th round, and the total amount of contribution points he had obtained was more than 20,000. That was over 10,000 kilograms of origin stones. The origin stones that Elder Lei Zhen had left behind were only about 1,000 kilograms. Of course, one could not compare to the strongest person in the history of the Xia people. In the past 10,000 years, the strongest person was Dan Qingyan. She had passed 9 rounds and earned more than 5,000 contribution points. This is the easiest way to earn contribution points. After the transcendent battle of life and death, you will need to take on many life and death training missions. For the sake of 10 contribution points, you will have to risk your life. Peng Shan sighed, so if you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one in the future. Dongbu Shuang nodded his head slightly. Snow Eagle, after the transcendent battle of life and death, you will need to be careful of the natives in the infernal realm. At the same time, you will also need to be careful of human transcendence. Peng Shan said. Be careful of them? Dongbu Shuang frowned. Don't tell me they will use underhanded methods? Transcendents have different personalities. Qiu Qibai said softly, there are all kinds of people. There are those who are sinister and selfish and those who are crazy. Although killing a transcendent will be investigated by the Infernal Palace, and once the truth is found, you will be sentenced to death. But you must understand, the Infernal Palace has to find out the truth first. If they don't, what can you do? Qing Ling Shu also said, that's right, those who directly want your life are rare, but those who scheme against you are very common. If you get schemed against, you can only blame yourself for not knowing the right person. Many transcendents are restricted by the rules of the Infernal Palace, but there is one place that is not restricted, and that is the Bloodshed Tavern. Qiu Qibai continued, if someone places a bounty on your life, the Bloodshed Tavern will immediately send an assassin to deal with you. Even if you ask for help and we rush over, but if he has already killed you, he will not be guilty of killing you. We are just going to let the Bloodshed Tavern do what they want? Dongbu Shuang frowned. He always felt that the Bloodshed Tavern was too tyrannical. Qiu Qibai shook his head helplessly. Let me put it this way, the Temple of the Earth God and the Bloodshed Tavern both have impressive existences from the deity world behind them. Some of the ancestors of the Xia people who entered the deity world have also spread the word that we can fall out with the Temple of the Earth God, kick the Temple of the Earth God out, and rely on another deity world power. However, we definitely cannot fall out with the Bloodshed Tavern. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. The background of the Bloodshed Tavern was really powerful. The Bloodshed Tavern is just a simple assassin mission. They have their own rules and will not make the heavens angry. Qiu Qibai said, if they want to place a bounty on you, the more monstrous you are, the more shocking the bounty would be. Thus, it is very rare for a transcendent to have a bounty on their head. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The Bloodshed Tavern was famous for being shady. The price was extremely high. "Oh right, Snow Eagle, are you interested in becoming a teacher at my Eternal Wind Academy?" Qiu Qibai suddenly said, "Don't worry, being a teacher at Transcendent is just a title, occasionally giving some pointers. At most, we would meet some good seedlings and accept a few disciples. Our Eternal Wind Academy already has 4 Transcendents, and is the strongest in the Tranquil Sun Province." Eternal Wind. Peng Shan said unhappily, "You are really fast at poaching people. I haven't even started yet." Dongbua Shuang laughed. Qiu Qibai had established the Eternal Wind Academy, and Peng Shan had also established the Demon Blade Institute. Let's wait for the future. I have just become a transcendent, so I should focus on training. In the future, I might become a teacher. Dongbua Shuang said, "Oh right, my younger brother Dongbua Qingshi is about to go to the Eternal Wind Academy." Your younger brother? That's great. Our Eternal Wind Academy welcomes all talented youngsters. Qiu Qibai laughed. Last time when I went to your place, I saw your younger brother. He is a good seedling. In the entire Tranquil Sun Province, there are only 3 transcendent mages. Our Eternal Wind Academy has 2, Ziche and Old Man Hai. Don't worry, I will carefully observe your younger brother. If he is talented and hardworking enough, accepting him as a disciple is a small matter. The white-haired Old Man Hai Ruzhen said. Why would you accept him? Maybe he would prefer to be my disciple. Ziche Gufeng also said. Although he said that, if the 2 of them really didn't like him, they would at most accept him as a disciple in name. This could be considered as giving face to Dongbua Shuang. After all, they were all transcendents of the Tranquil Sun Province. Not to mention that Dongbua Shuang was such a monster. Everyone felt that he had a high chance of becoming a saint. The 10 transcendents drank and chatted until the sky turned dark. Only then did they disperse. Dongbua Shuang also returned to his residence. Master. The female housekeeper Su Qin was already waiting at the door. Master, the people from the Infernal Palace have been waiting for more than 2 hours. Dongbua Shuang was slightly surprised. He immediately walked towards the main hall. There was indeed a young man sitting in the hall waiting silently. When he saw Dongbua Shuang walking in, he immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings Lord Dongbua, I am here under orders to inquire. May I know when Lord Dongbua intends to start the Transcendent Battle of Life and Death?" The Transcendent Battle of Life and Death must be carried out within a year of breaking through to the Transcendent Realm. If it exceeded a year, it would be considered as giving up. Dongbua Shuang thought for a while, then said, "Half a year later. I will be participating in the Transcendent Battle of Life and Death in half a year." "Alright, then I will report this," the young man said. "I shall not disturb you any further. Goodbye." Dongbua Shuang nodded. The Infernal Palace emissary immediately left. From the day he left the Black Wind Abyss, he had been calculating the time. He had to participate in the Transcendent Battle of Life and Death within a year. Now that a month had passed and he had just broken through, he had yet to cultivate his Do-Chi techniques and secret techniques. Half a year was more than enough. It's time to prepare for the upcoming Transcendent Battle of Life and Death. Dongbua Shuang immediately decided to start cultivating tonight. Chapter 107. Night. In the secret cultivation room of the mansion, the door was lowered and no one could enter. The secret cultivation room was so sturdy that anyone below the demigod level would not be able to move it. Even a demigod would need many times to destroy the secret cultivation room. The secret cultivation room was 20 meters wide, and there was nothing on the ground. Dongbua Shuang placed 10 fire crystal lamps in the secret cultivation room, and the secret cultivation room was brightly lit. He then sat cross-legged on the empty ground in the middle of the secret cultivation room. The ground was smooth and it was cold to sit on. With a flip of his hand, a gray pebble-like dawn stone appeared in his hand. It was the size of a palm and it weighed about half a kilogram. Hua! Following Dongbua Shuang's movement, The Dawn Stone's primordial energy that had accumulated for a long period of time began to slowly flow into Dongbu Shui Ying's body. When the world was first formed, energy did not have any elemental attributes. This was the primordial energy of the world. Absorbing this energy had a very light burden on the Dantian's Qi-Si, and the growth of the Dantian's Qi-Si was much faster than absorbing energy from the world. From the weakest sky realm transcendence to the demigod realm, the Dawn Stone was the most important thing to them, and it had no flaws. For example, some transcendent sorcerers could concoct potions, pills, and the like which could greatly increase the speed of cultivation, but they all had flaws. It would greatly increase the difficulty of breaking through bottlenecks in the future. Those who were truly ambitious would either slowly absorb the energy of the world or only use the Dawn Stone. For a monster like Dongbu Shuiying, if he dared to use some potions or pills, he would be destroying his own future. Starfire. Within the Dantian's Qi-Si, the transcendent Qi condensed into countless starfire. The starfire revolved around it layer by layer. At this time, the primordial energy of the world surged in, and was immediately attracted by the outermost starfire Qi, and then by the innermost layer of starfire Qi. After going through layers of transformation, when it passed through the entire layer of starfire Qi, the primordial energy of the world was completely transformed into transcendent Qi. Actually, even without this starfire Qi technique, it could still be forcefully transformed. But that was too slow, and the burden on the Dantian's Qi-Si was too great. This stupid method of absorbing the energy of the world from the outside world, and even if one cultivated day and night for 800 years, one's Qi reserves would not be enough to enter the Saint Realm. Hence, the Dawn Stone was very important and the technique was also very important. His Do Qi continued to accumulate at an astonishing speed, becoming denser and denser. After the time taken to brew a pot of tea, Dongbu Shuiying felt that his Dantian's Qi high was holding up, and immediately stopped. The amount of Do Qi I have managed to cultivate in just a short time is more than the amount of Do Qi I have managed to cultivate in the past month. Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. Of course, this was also because he did not have a good Do Qi cultivation method for the past month. If he used the Starfire Do Qi technique to cultivate, using origin stones and absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, the difference in the amount of Do Qi produced was about 20 times. Next, it's time to study the secret technique. With a flip of his hand, Dongbu Shuiying took out the Magic Dragon skill book. The Magic Dragon art was a top-grade technique passed down from the God realm. It was only one grade lower than a God-tier technique. He flipped through the book. Purely absorbing the energy of heaven and earth to strengthen one's body was easy to understand, but the secret technique Magic Dragon Strength was extremely complicated and difficult to understand. There were many good secret techniques such as the Bloodshed Tavern's God-tier Massacre secret technique. Each of them was extremely terrifying, and if a God-tier Massacre secret technique was trained to perfection, each of them would become a terrifying god of slaughter. But in reality it was already very difficult to even get started. How many people could actually train a God-tier Massacre secret technique to perfection? Just the Magic Dragon Strength in his hand alone was already an extremely difficult thing to accomplish. Buzz. The golden book in his hand immediately emitted a faint light, and a three-dimensional seal appeared on top of the book. The seal was made up of tens of thousands of densely packed threads, causing Dongbu Shuiying to feel dizzy just looking at it. This is only the first level of the Magic Dragon Strength? Dongbu Shuiying was somewhat speechless. This should be left to a sorcerer to figure out. Secret technique Magic Dragon Strength. It required one to use the energy of heaven and earth to form a god seal. When these god seals fused into one's body, it would gradually change one's body, allowing one's body to become more proficient in explosive power. Although they were both 6th grade magical beasts, the difference between a normal one and a mutated one was extremely shocking. The secret technique was to allow Dongbu Shuiying's body to gradually become special, becoming stronger and stronger. This type of god seal was also known as the Magic Dragon Divine Seal. The simplest of the god seals was this three-dimensional seal in front of him. As for the 5th level god seal, it could directly increase one's physical strength by 6 times. Although this Magic Dragon Divine Seal was more inclined towards physical strength, with such an explosive increase in physical strength, speed, toughness and other aspects would also increase accordingly. Isn't this god seal a little too difficult? Although Dongbu Shuiying felt a headache coming on, he still focused on studying it. It was made up of tens of thousands of threads, and the level of complexity would make even a transcendent sorcerer speechless. Cultivating the secret technique required one to continuously fuse the god seals into one's body. With just a thought, the magic dragon divine seal would be formed one by one. It was impossible to copy it slowly. Thus, one had to truly comprehend it, and be able to instantly condense the magic dragon divine seal, one by one. Only then would one be able to successfully cultivate the first level of this secret technique. Time passed, second after second. Dongbua Shuiying focused his attention on studying this three-dimensional magic dragon divine seal. Gradually, a look of excitement appeared on his face. This was because he discovered that the tens of thousands of threads that formed the first level of the magic dragon divine seal contained some profound mysteries. These mysteries were the profound mysteries of flames of all creation. No wonder the book said that this secret technique was suitable for transcendents who cultivated the profound mysteries of flames of all creation. The profound mysteries of heaven and earth can actually be used like this? Dongbua Shuiying exclaimed. This god seal had opened up a whole new world to him. The profound mysteries of the first level of the magic dragon divine seal was very simple. But by relying on these simple profound mysteries, it was able to form the god seal and even cause the human body to evolve. How inconceivable was this? Although Dongbua Shuiying had also grasped the profound mysteries of water and fire of all creation, it was obvious that his usage of them was too simple. However, he understood. Even an existence who had become a god would find it difficult to create such a secret technique. Those who were able to create top-grade secret techniques were all relatively powerful existences in the divine world. Only then would they be able to use a few profound mysteries to form an extremely complicated first-level god seal. Furthermore, as the profound mysteries deepened, the god seal would also become more and more complicated. After that, there was the second level of the magic dragon divine seal, the third level, the fourth level, and even the highest level, the fifth level. Although I am far from being comparable to the supreme experts of the divine world, but I can definitely use them as a reference. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. By using the profound mysteries of water and fire of all creation more efficiently, I can create an even more powerful spear technique. The god seal represented a whole new world. It was a world that transcendents had to look up to, but they were gradually getting closer to perfection. Following that, Dongbua Shuiying stopped thinking about random things and focused on studying the first level of the magic dragon divine seal. Although he only spent 6 hours to understand the profound mysteries of using the tens of thousands of threads, understanding it did not mean that he could form the god seal with a single thought. Dongbua Shuiying had tried to manipulate the heaven and earth energy from the outside world. To condense the heaven and earth energy into tens of thousands of threads, this was something he could do with his powerful soul. But to combine the tens of thousands of threads was like splitting his mind into tens of thousands of threads. It was completely messed up. I have to form it with a single thought. And I have to understand its essence. Dongbua Shuiying continued to ponder. Time passed day by day. Dongbua Shuiying would either relax or practice his spear techniques. Occasionally he would go out to meet his friends. The rest of his time would be spent on studying the magic dragon divine seal. And at the same time, the Infernal Palace also informed all the transcendents that half a year later, Dongbua Shuiying would be participating in a transcendent battle of life and death. Dongbua Shuiying will be participating in a transcendent battle of life and death in half a year? He is the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years. The news began to circulate in the taverns and restaurants of the Xia capital. Many legend rankers knew about it and immediately spread the news by word of mouth. Many legend rankers were training and tempering themselves in the Xia capital. Normally, legend rankers would be very excited to watch a transcendent battle of life and death. To them, watching a transcendent battle of life and death was a rare opportunity. The news spread. In one of the small mansions in the Xia capital, one could tell that it was a legend ranker's mansion from the size of the mansion. Gugugu. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in a green dress, was sitting in the garden with an exhausted expression. Her face was a little pale, and the long period of research had made her very tired. She drank a glass of water in one go, and after putting it down, the maidservant beside her immediately refilled it. Jing Qiu rarely drank alcohol. She preferred to drink water. Master. Suddenly a young girl ran in from outside. She was filled with excitement. You little girl, why are you so excited? Jing Qiu laughed. Master, I heard that half a year later, the transcendent Dongbua Shuiying will be participating in a transcendent battle of life and death. This is the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years. The young girl was so excited that her face was red. Jing Qiu was stunned. Dongbua Shuiying? Not dead? Chapter 108. Jingqiu had always thought that Dongbu Shuang had died. But now, not only was he not dead, he had even become a transcendent and was about to start the transcendent battle of life and death in half a year? She had always had a special feeling for Dongbu Shuang. She could never forget the moment when she was at her most desperate, when the black-robed youth rushed out from the explosion and protected her from the collapse of the flagstone, giving her an absolute sense of security. As an extremely intelligent and powerful legend mage, she did not fall in love with Dongbu Shuang because of this. But at the very least, Dongbu Shuang had left a deep mark in her heart. You said Dongbu Shuang? He didn't die? Jingqiu asked. Did you hear wrongly? Died? He didn't die. The young lady said doubtfully. Is it Dongbu Shuang from the Tranquil Sun province? Jingqiu asked again. She was worried that it was someone with the same name. However, to be known as the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years, logically speaking, it was impossible for two people with the same name to appear in the world at the same time. Yes, he is from the Tranquil Sun province. I heard that he escaped from the Black Wind Abyss about a month ago. The young lady said. He is only 28 years old this year. Wow, he is even younger than you, master. You little girl. Hearing this, Jingqiu's heart calmed down. It seemed that she was right. It was indeed the Dongbu Shuang that she knew of. I will go out for a while. Jingqiu stood up. Master, do you need us to accompany you when you go out? The young lady said. Her master often researched spells. Only when she was stuck in a bottleneck would she occasionally take on some of the easier missions. Normally she would rarely go out. As for those legend-ranked knights, most of them like to go to pubs, restaurants and other places to drink and chat. No need. Jingqiu casually put on a cloak and walked out of her mansion. Very quickly she arrived at a rather lively tavern. Casually ordering a cup of fruit wine, she sat in a corner and listened to the conversations going on. Many people were chatting in the tavern. Some were talking about the life and death mission that they had just gone through, some were talking about the native creatures of a certain supernatural world, and some were talking about Dongbu Shuang. This Dongbu Shuang is really amazing. He's the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years. I think he'll be able to win at least 6 matches in this transcendent battle of life and death. Impressive indeed, he's only 28 years old. Amazing. I think he'll be lucky if he can win 3 matches. 3 rounds? Isn't that too little? You don't understand. Dongbu Shuang is the youngest in 1,000 years. What does it mean to be young? This meant that he had too little combat experience. On the other hand, the cultivation time is too short. An old man gulped down a mouthful of wine, his breath reeking of alcohol. He has only cultivated for a short period of time, so his comprehension of the realms of myriad existences would be rather shallow. Those old fellows who have been stuck at the legend rank for a very long time, some of them could even be ranked in the top 10 of the Dragon Mountain list. Some of them could even be ranked in the top 3 of the Dragon Mountain list. Their realms and experience are much more formidable than Dongbu Shuang. What the drunkard said makes sense. For Dongbu Shuang to become a transcendent, he might have had a fortuitous encounter. His own realms and combat experience might not be that high. He didn't have many battles that he could bring out. The only battle he had was with Xiang Pangyun. I've heard that Xiang Pangyun was only ranked 500 in the Dragon Mountain list. These legend rankers were discussing amongst themselves. Normally, those who could become transcendents were ranked in the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain list. Some of them were even ranked in the top 10 or top 3. To perish together with Xiang Pangyun, who was ranked 500, was nothing much in the eyes of these legend rankers. It was only because Dongbu Shuang was only 22 years old at that time. To be able to achieve such a feat at 22 years old would be considered a monster. However, the transcendent battle of life and death did not care if you were young or not. In the end, it still tested your strength. Therefore, being young would be at a disadvantage. Sometimes, those old fellows who were over 100 years old would be able to perform better. They are looking down on Dongbu Shuang too much. Jingqiu held on to her fruit wine as she listened. At that time, Dongbu Shuang will definitely stun them. Her heart was completely leaning towards Dongbu Shuang's side. However, Jingqiu's rationality told her that these legend rankers' suspicions were reasonable. When she first met Dongbu Shuang, the demonic emissary that he killed was only an ordinary legend ranker. Later on, when he killed Xiang Pangyun, he was only ranked around 500. Very quickly, Jingqiu finished her fruit wine and stood up to leave. The main reason she came here was to verify the news. From the looks of it, Dongbu Shuang was indeed alive. Furthermore, he would be participating in the transcendent battle of life and death very soon. Half a year later. At that time, I will be able to see Dongbo Shuiying. Jingqiu was secretly looking forward to it. Sitting in the backyard of his mansion, Dongbo Shuiying was eating snacks. At the same time, he was mobilizing the heaven and earth energy in an attempt to form the first layer of the demonic dragon divine seal. Wah! Countless threads instantly formed a three-dimensional seal and floated in front of him. This scene shocked the two maids who were serving him. However, as maids they were still very obedient. They did not dare to make a sound and disturb their master. There are still many mistakes. Again. With a thought, Dongbo Shuiying caused the countless threads to form a three-dimensional seal. He tried again and again. A few days ago when he was drinking with Knight Yaoblade Pingshan in a pub, Dongbo Shuiying was very distressed. When he mentioned that he was unable to form the first layer of the divine seal, Knight Yaoblade Pingshan laughed in surprise and said, "Since you already understand the structure of the divine seal, then just follow the secret techniques form with a single thought, and try again and again. The more you try, the more you will naturally succeed. The divine seal is something created by the gods. As long as you can understand its structure, the more you try, the more you will succeed. However, if you don't understand it at all, the more you try, the more it will be useless." Knight Yaoblade Pingshan's words caused Dongbo Shuiying to come to a sudden realization. Thus Dongbo Shuiying started to try. He tried thousands of times. Every day he would spend most of his time trying to form the divine seal with a single thought. Tens of thousands of threads instantly formed a three-dimensional seal. Because he understood the divine seal the moment the seal was formed, Dongbo Shuiying understood that some of the threads had problems. He did not need to compare them one by one because the threads that had problems did not conform to the profound mystery of the flames of all creation. Because he understood the profound mystery, he instinctively made the threads conform to the profound mystery. Something is still not right. After trying tens of thousands of times, Dongbo Shuiying already had an incomparably clear picture in his mind. Forming the three-dimensional seal gradually became an instinct. First, he would completely comprehend it, then practice makes perfect, and finally, it would become an instinct. Then he would be able to form the divine seal with a single thought. At noon. With a thought, Dongbo Shuiying gathered the heaven and earth energy into tens of thousands of threads, forming a three-dimensional seal. This demonic dragon divine seal was perfect. Success. Looking at the demonic dragon divine seal hovering in front of him, Dongbo Shuiying revealed a look of joy. He hurriedly tried again, and another demonic dragon divine seal was formed. One by one, occasionally there would be mistakes. He continued to form seals one by one. After the time taken to brew a cup of tea, more and more demonic dragon divine seals were formed. There were no more mistakes. The formation of the demonic dragon divine seal had become an instinct of his. He immediately entered the secret training room. Holding a gray dawn stone in his hand, he circulated the primordial heaven and earth energy contained within it. After the primordial heaven and earth energy entered his body, it directly transformed into numerous demonic dragon divine seals. These demonic dragon divine seals directly fused with his muscles, bones, heart, blood, and every other part of his body. Gradually, his body began to undergo minute changes. Every part of his body, from the inside to the outside, was fused with the demonic dragon divine seals, undergoing minute changes. If every part of his body evolved slightly, then after his entire body evolved, his strength would increase by 20%. His speed, toughness, recovery ability, and other aspects would also increase slightly. After spending 20 hours, his body finally evolved successfully. The first stage of the demonic dragon force is completed. Dongbo Shuiying was somewhat excited. He immediately flipped open the demonic dragon force book and continued to read the second stage of the demonic dragon divine seal. 1. A three-dimensional seal formed from over 20,000 threads floated above the book. Dongbo Shuiying looked at it and pondered. So complicated. The more Dongbo Shuiying looked at it, the more difficult it became. After studying the second stage of the demonic dragon divine seal for 5 days, Dongbo Shuiying vaguely understood that his current attainment in the profound mystery of the flames of all creation was still relatively low. If he wanted to understand the second stage of the demonic dragon divine seal, he would not be able to do so in a year or so. If he could not even understand it, then it was even more impossible for him to form it with a single thought. When he tried to form it again and again, it was a mess every time. I'll give up for now. The demonic dragon divine seal is a god's incomparably exquisite use of the profound mystery of the flames of all creation. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself. My spear arts should also be more exquisite in making use of the profound mystery of the water and fire of all creation. Spear arts were abstruse beyond abstruse. If it was a god seal, it could still be manifested through seals. But when it came to spear arts in battle, it would be very hard to directly express it. Even if it was a spear art created by some senior transcendents, it was still the experience and path of the seniors. If one were to observe the spear arts of the seniors when they were still very young, it would be very easy for one to be lured onto the wrong path. The path of transcendence had to be taken one step at a time, and one had to ponder on it step by step. After condensing the true meaning, one's own path would be stable enough. Only then would one look at the spear arts and saber arts of the other seniors and use them as reference. Only then would one's heart not be shaken. In history there were even experts who had condensed their true meaning, but they were all led astray by the seniors. Furthermore, the seniors were not able to directly express their own comprehensions. They were all practicing the spear arts and saber arts. Just by observing the practice, one would at most be able to see the surface of it. If one were to walk on the wrong path because of this surface, it would be too late for regrets. Hence, one could only ponder on everything by oneself. Even if one was wrong, one would be able to understand where the mistake was and quickly correct it. The shaft of the black dragon spear was like a huge dragon, and under the control of Dongbo Shui Ying's strength, the shaft of the black dragon spear formed an arc as it spun and stabbed forward. As it spun, the spear shaft was surrounded by a turbulent flow of water. At the last moment, the spear stabbed out, water and fire interchanged. The rotational force of the water would all converge and then explode in an instant. The moment the long spear stabbed out, flames erupted. Its power was ferocious. The transformation between water and fire is not natural enough. The force of the water's rotation was not perfectly transferred into the explosive force of the fire. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. It was snowing heavily. Dongbo Shuang was practicing his spear technique on the training field. Buzz. It was not as violent as before. Instead, it was a low buzzing sound. The spear turned from a spiraling dragon to an explosive force, as though a dragon had shot out from the water and soared into the sky. The piercing force of the spear's rotation formed a spiraling wave visible to the naked eye. A finger-thick spiraling wave of air directly pierced through the heaven and earth energy that Dongbo Shuang had gathered around him. I actually can't block it. Dongbo Shuang immediately controlled the heaven and earth energy around him, forming layers of water to block it. This was just the air wave produced by a single stab. Furthermore, because it was just an attempt, Dongbo Shuang did not use much strength. Usually, when he cultivated, he would be able to block the shock waves by using the heaven and earth energy to block them. Even if some of the shock waves hit the wall, it would not be a big deal. But this bizarre spiraling wave of air was extremely powerful, and its penetrative force was shocking as well. Dongbo Shuang used the heaven and earth water energy to block it. The air wave still flew for over 100 meters before it was completely blocked. Good fella. Dongbo Shuang exclaimed, its power is truly great. Weapons and secret techniques are not as important as one's realm in influencing one's strength. Dongbo Shuang was extremely excited. He had succeeded. He had finally mastered this move that he had been painstakingly studying. Weapons were important, but secret techniques were even more important. But what was the true core of a transcendent? What was the key? It was the realm. To cultivate a secret technique to a profound level, one's realm had to be high enough. To cultivate battle chi further, one's realm had to be high enough. For example, to become a demigod, even the weakest demigod had condensed a true meaning. At the same time, the realm itself had an even greater influence on one's strength. For example, Eternal Wind Knight Chiu Chi Bai. In terms of body and battle chi, he was very ordinary. In terms of secret techniques, he could not even compare to the Bloodshed Tavern, Temple of the Earth God, or demonic faction. However, he was the undisputed #1 on the Saint board and had even killed a demigod native from a transcendent world. He had even defeated a famous human demigod expert. It was because his realm was high enough. He had grasped the true meaning of space cleavage. When Dongbo Shuang killed Xiang Pangyun, he was at the most basic level of the realm of myriad existences. After that, he had spent 6 years in the underground. After the fusion of fire and water, the fire of myriad existences had improved. At the same time, he had comprehended the profound mystery of water of myriad existences. At this moment, his comprehension of the fusion of fire and water of myriad existences had deepened, and he had even created this killing technique. Let's go to the training room and try it out. Dongbo Shui-Ying immediately headed to the training room. Only there could he display his full strength to the fullest. Within the training room, 10 fire crystal lamps were lit up. Dongbo Shui-Ying held the black dragon spear in his hands. Hong, a faint red aura appeared on the surface of his body. His power bloodline had also erupted. Kill. Dongbo Shui-Ying used all his strength. It was still a low sound. The spear stabbed out like a water dragon. The powerful rotational force caused the spear's speed to become even faster. The rotational force naturally gathered at the tip of the spear. At the moment of perfect convergence, the extreme yin turned into extreme yang, and the spear seemed to have transformed into a flaming dragon. Its might was extremely shocking. When the spear tip stabbed out, it created a shockwave that was as thick as an arm. Evidently, after the strength of the shockwave increased, the vibrations in the air became much stronger as well. The shockwave that was as thick as an arm was shockingly powerful. The speed of the shockwave was extremely fast as well, and it directly smashed against the walls of the training room. Ripples appeared on the walls, dissipating the force of the shockwave. This move, in terms of ferocity, is at least 30% stronger than the extreme violent spear art that was executed using the profound mystery of fire of myriad existences. As for the strange rotational force, it should be at least 30% stronger than the water of myriad existences. Dongbo Shui-Ying estimated. The spear arts of the past. The water of myriad existences was strange and soft, but it lacked power. The fire of myriad existences was extremely powerful, but it was too ferocious and clumsy. Right now this move possessed the advantages of both. In fact, it was even stronger than both. Such a move would definitely cause Dongbo Shui-Ying's strength to double. This killing move I shall call it. When Dongbo Shui-Ying executed it, it was as though a flood dragon had transformed into a fire flood dragon. Water and fire flood dragon kill. After Dongbo Shui-Ying comprehended the profound mysteries of heaven and earth, the first killing move he comprehended was created on the very first snowy day he arrived at the Xia capital of the infernal realm. Although it was still very simple when compared to the magic dragon divine seal, it was already an ingenious use of the profound mysteries. Furthermore, it was a fusion of two profound mysteries. It could be considered extraordinary. And this move of mine can still be improved upon. After creating the move, Dongbo Shui-Ying discovered it. I can make the fusion of water and fire even more perfect. The profound mysteries of heaven and earth contained everything. All profound mysteries belong to the laws of heaven and earth. Thus, all sorts of profound mysteries could be fused together perfectly. Naturally, water and fire could be fused together perfectly as well, or even become one. Right now, Dongbo Shui-Ying could only fuse the two together in a simpler manner. Within the Xia capital, in the taverns and restaurants, many places were discussing the same thing, the transcendent battle of life and death that was about to begin. Gongqing, you actually came to the infernal realm? You haven't been here for almost 100 years. Haha, I heard that the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years is about to begin his transcendent battle of life and death. How could I miss such an event? No wonder I knew it. But Gongqing, how many matches do you think this Dongbo Shui-Ying kid can win in the transcendent battle of life and death? It's hard to say. He's too young. I think he should be able to win 3 matches. Maybe 4 or 5. 6 matches would be very dangerous. Currently in the Xia capital, many transcendents rarely met each other. Most of them would talk about Dongbo Shui-Ying, the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years. His transcendent battle of life and death. The attraction was very big. Actually, even an ordinary transcendent battle of life and death would attract many people. After all, even transcendents like to join in on the fun. At night, in the back garden, Dongbo Shui-Ying was drinking alone, looking at the bright moon in the sky. Currently, countless people in the Xia capital were looking forward to tomorrow. Because tomorrow would be Dongbo Shui-Ying's transcendent battle of life and death. At that time, many mortals like the female housekeeper, Su Qin, would be there to watch. Tomorrow. Dongbo Shui-Ying whispered to himself. Then he grinned, I hope it won't be too embarrassing. Chapter 110. Dragon Mountain Calendar Year 9637, January 18th, Morning. Qiu Qi Bai Ping Shan, Qingling Shu, Dongyu Wu Kuei, Ziche Gu Feng and the rest of the Transcendents from Tranquil Sun Province arrived at Dongbu Shui Ying's residence. Brother Snow Eagle, why are you still so calm? Drinking alone? The sturdiest Ba Ming exclaimed in surprise. How am I calm? I'm more nervous. Dongbu Shuiying laughed. If I didn't care about anything, I would have slept until now. Actually, to Transcendents, sleep was not necessary. It was just that after sleeping they could relax and recover their mental energy. Hence, many Transcendents would sleep frequently. It doesn't matter if you're nervous or not. This transcendent battle of life and death cannot be avoided. Let's go, we will accompany you to the Infernal Palace's Hall of Life and Death. Qiu Qibai said. Qingling Shu also said, Brother Snow Eagle, I won 2 rounds back then and lost on the 3rd round. However, I believe that you will definitely win at least 7 rounds. Haha, you're even stronger than Brother Changfeng. Peng Shan also hurriedly said, Snow Eagle, Sister Ling Shu specially bet on you. She bet that you will definitely win at least 6 rounds. Bet. Dongbu Shuiying looked at Qingling Shu in shock. Sister Ling Shu, you're still betting? Mages were usually very rational. Qingling Shu was a female transcendent mage, yet she was betting? Just playing. Qingling Shu purposely said shyly, occasionally betting is very interesting. I bet that you will win at least 6 rounds. You have to win at least 7 rounds before I can win. At least 7 rounds. I'm not confident. Dongbu Shuiying said. There's no other way. The other payout rates are too low, and placing a single bet on one of the rounds is too risky. Hence, I bet on you winning at least 6 rounds. Qingling Shu looked at Dongbu Shuiying in anticipation. Brother Snow Eagle, I believe that you can do it. The group of people chatted. It's about time. Let's go. Qiu Qibai said. And let's go to the Infernal Palace. Everyone stood up and walked out of the hall. Dongbu Shuiying turned to the female housekeeper, Su Qin, and said, Leave a few guards in the residence today. Those who wish to watch the battle are free to do so. Thank you, Master. Su Qin immediately said excitedly. Let's go. After Dongbu Shuiying and the other Transcendents left the mansion, they immediately flew towards the Infernal Palace. Flying high up in the sky, Xiaoqun could see with a single glance that the closer he got to the Infernal Palace, the more ferocious the flow of people became. Countless people were rushing towards the Infernal Palace. I don't usually see so many people in the Xia capital. Dongbu Shuiying looked down and exclaimed. There are many mortals. Peng Shan said, I'm afraid that more than half of the mortals in the Xia capital will rush to the Hall of Life and Death to watch this battle. To them, being able to witness a life and death battle between Transcendents is already worth it. Their masters, whether they are Transcendents or Legend Rankers, would normally allow their maids and servants to go out and watch the battle. Ziche Gu Feng and the other Transcendents all smiled. This was a rare event. The mortals who are able to live in the Xia capital are considered to be lucky. Many mortals in the outside world have never seen a Transcendent before. But the mortals in the Xia capital are able to see Transcendents frequently, and even watch the Transcendent battle of life and death. Zone 2 evaluated. Dongbu Shuiying nodded his head. The Transcendent battle of life and death was usually held once every few years. If it was short, it would be once every 1 or 2 years. If it was long, it would be hard for it to exceed 5 years. It's just that, Snow Eagle, you are the youngest Transcendent in 1,000 years. Hence, the attraction is much greater. It is said that many Transcendents from the outside world have come to the Infernal Palace. Because there are a lot of Transcendents coming, many of them want to gather with their Transcendents friends, so they will rush back. Qiu Qibai said, I reckon that 70 to 80% of the spectators this time are Transcendents. During the conversation, Dongbu Shuiying and the rest flew to the Infernal Palace. The Infernal Palace was located in the center of the Xia capital. It occupied a huge area and had many halls. Among them, the Hall of Life and Death was specially used for the Transcendent battle of life and death. As Transcendents, they could directly enter the Hall of Life and Death from the main entrance. What a huge battle arena. After Dongbu Shuiying entered, he immediately saw the huge arena in the middle of the vast Hall of Life and Death. The huge arena was about 2 to 3 miles wide, and it was decorated with mountains. There were even streams flowing around it. The arena in the middle was only so big. The spectator area was even bigger. The eastern arena was extremely spacious, and only Transcendents could enter. The western arena was for mortals to sit and watch. The mortals were densely packed, and the 3 to 4 miles wide arena was enough to accommodate over 1 million people. At the very least, the mortals in the Xia capital were able to sit down. Snow Eagle, follow me. Qiu Qi Bai led Dongbo Shuiying. I will bring you to meet the faction head. Faction head? Dongbo Shuiying immediately understood and followed behind. Because only transcendents were allowed to watch the battle from the east side, there were very few spectators. Most of them were on good terms with each other. Dongbo Shuiying soon saw 2 figures sitting in front of him. Greetings, faction head, Mountain Lord He. Qiu Qi Bai bowed slightly. Dongbo Shuiying followed suit and bowed. It's eternal wind. The faction head glanced at Qiu Qi Bai before his gaze landed on Dongbo Shuiying. His gaze was as calm as the sea. Dongbo Shuiying felt an invisible pressure. Demigod rank 5. Si Kong Yang Water Taoist faction head, condensed it, true deity heart. One had to know that among the humans, natives of the transcendent world, and the beast race, there were only 4 demigods who could condense a true deity heart. His faction head, Si Kong Yang, was one of them. Si Kong Yang's entire body was like a sun, emitting light and heat, making it hard for others to look at him directly. And beside him was Mountain Lord He, who was publicly recognized as the number 1 under the heavens. Mountain Lord He gave off a feeling that one could not see the end of the mountain range. It was distant, but it didn't make people feel too pressured. Dongbo Shuiying. Faction head Si Kong Yang said, there are many demigods who came to spectate this time. They all want to see how many battles the youngest transcendent in 1,000 years can win. I'm also very curious. Dongbo Shuiying will naturally do his best. Dongbo Shuiying said. Go. Prepare well. You will have to enter the arena soon. Si Kong Yang said. Mountain Lord He didn't say anything, but he also smiled as he watched. Actually, to these high and mighty demigods, there was a limit to how much they valued these monstrous geniuses. This was because the lifespan of a demigod was 3,000 years. In these 3,000 years, there were still quite a few of these monstrous geniuses. But in reality, the majority of those who became demigods were transcendents who seemed to be low-key. No matter how monstrous they were at the beginning, the most they could say was that they had a high chance of entering the Saint Realm. As for demigods, that was too difficult. For example, Qiu Qi Bai was the number 1 on the Saint rankings and had even defeated human demigods. His position was very high. Logically speaking, he didn't need to be so close to Dongbo Shuiying. However, Qiu Qi Bai didn't care. He had a good relationship with the transcendents of the Tranquil Sun Province, causing the 9 transcendents of the Tranquil Sun Province to admire and respect Qiu Qi Bai. Although Qiu Qi Bai was currently at the peak of the Saint Realm, he already had the strength of a demigod. In the future, he would be regarded as the number 1 under the heavens. A large number of mortals entered the arena and sat down. Jing Qiu and a few familiar legend rankers also entered the arena and sat down. They were all sitting on the west side, so they couldn't see the transcendents in the east. There was a layer of invisible energy blocking their view. Sister Jing Qiu, Dongbo Shuiying is from our Tranquil Sun Province. You and him are both from the Azure River County. The legend rankers by the side said. Jing Qiu smiled. She was also very nervous. She was waiting for Dongbo Shuiying to enter the arena below. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.